Chapter 44:15. All right, all right. Zhai Xingzi was ecstatic to the point of being dumbstruck, and he could only nod his head vigorously. He really didn't dare to believe Xiao Hua's words, but the problem was that Xiao Hua was a Grand Ascension stage human race cultivator, so how could he be joking around with him? Cough, cough. Zhang Daoren coughed and said with a smile, "Forget about the immortal army from the immortal palace. We are Taoist cultivators." Even though Taoist is already a human Mahayana realm cultivator, Confucian cultivators are still the rulers of the hidden immortal continent. If Taoist Wenxing comes out, the Gusu family will have some face, so there's no need to cause any trouble. That's right, that's right. Zhai Xingzi came to his senses and hurriedly said, Taoist one is a Taoist Mahayana realm cultivator, so it's best if you don't attract the attention of the immortal palace. When we return to the hidden immortal continent, we'll deal with this matter. Xiao Hua was also overjoyed, and he said, Confucian cultivators have 4 joys in life, which are rain after a long drought, meeting an old friend in a foreign land, the wedding night, and the nomination for the golden role. Today, we've met in a foreign land, and in the future, Taoist Zhai Xingzi, this is the most joys in life. Haha, that's right, that's right. Zhang Daoran and Sun Kong both smiled as they congratulated star-plucking child. Meanwhile, Xiao Hua's smile was filled with bitterness. He very naturally thought of Fairy Jing, a woman who had also drunk the water of forgetfulness, and also surpassed the water of forgetfulness through bitter thinking. Her experience was similar to Gusu Chioti's, but the ending was also completely different. Fellow Taoists, please wait on the side. When we return to the hidden immortal continent, I will accompany you for a chat. Xiao Hua looked into the distance and saw that the 2 groups of Fortune Gate's disciples had yet to appear, but their killing intent had already soared to the sky, spreading in all directions. Xiao Hua smiled and said to Zhai Xingzi and the others, Yes. The 3 of them didn't dare to say anything, and they surrounded Gusu Chioti, waiting for the Fortune Gate's army to return. After half a cup of tea's time, killing intent surged like a tidal wave, and the 200,000-strong army had already appeared. At the front of the army, 2 lightning boats flew over. When they were 100 li away from Xiao Hua, they stopped, and 2 groups of people flew down from the boats. Xiao Hua's gaze swept over the crowd, and at the same time, there was a smile on his face, but at the same time, there was surprise in his eyes. This was because Ing Per and his clansmen from the Luai Merchant Union flew down from the left lightning ship while Xiong Yi, His Highness Lan, Taoist Master Qing Su, Venerable Master Fan Tian, Ao Zhantian, Su Tingzi, and the others flew down from the right lightning ship. When Ingpa saw Xiong Yi flying out, he deliberately slowed down to let Xiong Yi and the others greet Xiao Hua first. Before he could even get close, Royal Highness Lan fell to his knees with tears streaming down his face. Master, this disciple deserves to die. Please punish this disciple. Xiao Hua was shocked. He raised his hand and grabbed Royal Highness Lan from a distance. Royal Highness Lan felt a flash in front of his eyes. He didn't feel anything at all. His figure had already appeared in front of Xiao Hua. His heart couldn't help but tighten. What's wrong? Xiao Hua hurriedly asked. Did something big happen? Master. Xiongyi also hurriedly flew over, but he was still far away from Xiao Hua. He also shouted, This disciple also deserves to die. Master, please punish me. Oh, what's going on? Xiao Hua had a bad feeling in his heart. This disciple is incompetent. Xiongyi glanced at the pale-faced Royal Highness Lan and sighed inwardly. He rushed to say, This disciple led close to 30,000 disciples to buy Qingyu to save Master. But, on the way, we lost close to 40%. In this grand array, we lost another 10%. Close to half of the disciples have fallen. This disciple asks Master to punish him. Xiao Hua raised his head and looked up at the sky. His eyes were filled with grief. He had already mentally prepared himself for this outcome. After all, the Fortune Gates disciples in the soaring Dragon Mountain range couldn't be compared to the Fortune Gates disciples in the Shenhua continent. The difference in strength was too great. At most, they were in the Golden Core realm. Coming to the 1,000 demonic sacred grounds, they weren't even enough to fill the gaps between the demonic beast race's teeth. However, The loyalty of these Fortune Gates disciples in the soaring Dragon Mountain range wasn't any worse than the Fortune Gates disciples in the Shenhua continent. They relied on these tens of thousands of disciples to rush to by Qingyu. Xiao Hua had already used the Netherworld Origin Force to investigate. He could absorb souls that could be absorbed into the inside of the Netherworld, regardless of whether they were from the demonic beast race or the human race. However, according to Xiong Yi, 40% of the disciples had died on the way to Bai Qingyu. Their souls had most likely entered the Netherworld. Xiaohua couldn't find them at all. Even if Xiaohua wanted to arrange for them to re-enter the Fortune Gate, he couldn't. After the time it took to brew a cup of tea, Xiaohua retracted his gaze and looked at Prince Lan. He asked, "What crime did you commit?" This disciple didn't protect junior brother Changyu well. On the way to Bai Qingyu, junior brother Changyu encountered the demonic beast race. In order to save this disciple, junior brother Changyu perished together with the demonic beast race. Prince Lan didn't dare to raise his head. His upper body was prostrated in midair as he wept. See, Xiaohua sucked in a breath of air. He couldn't believe this news. After all, he had taken in so many disciples, and none of them had died. Even during the war with the devil race in the ruins, Yuan Ye and the others didn't suffer such a tragedy. Damn it! Hearing this grievous news, Xiaohua was furious. He regretted letting Bai Qingyu, Shrouding Sky Ridge, and Ancient Bell Mountain go. Tell me the cause of this matter in full detail. Xiaohua gritted his teeth and said word by word. Prince Lan complied and recounted the matter once again. It was exactly the same as what he had told Xiong Yi. Hearing this, Xiaohua released his divine sense and looked in that direction. It was a pity that his battle with Bai Xian had involved too much area. The place where Changyu had died had long since disappeared. He couldn't find any traces at all. After Master left, junior brother Changyu cultivated diligently. Before he died, he was already an early nascent soul cultivator. Deep sorrow appeared on Xiong Yi's face. When he came to Bai Qingyu this time, this disciple and junior brother Lan advised him not to come. We told him to stay at the soaring Dragon Mountain range with senior brother Li Xiang. After all, the Thousand Demons sacred realm is too dangerous and his strength is still shallow. But he said that Master had given him a new life. Even if he dies, he wants to die in front of Master. Sigh. Hearing this, Xiaohua felt as if a knife was being twisted in his heart. To be honest, his feelings for Changyu and Wu Tian were not as deep as Xiong Yi, Prince Lan, and Li Xiang. It was even more incomparable to Lu Yi and the other disciples. However, it was these disciples who knew how to repay the kindness of a drop of water with a gushing spring. They knew how to be grateful. They knew that they would die if they came to Bai Qingyu, but they still rushed to meet their deaths. How could he repay their gratitude? Even if he had massacred Bai Qingyu and killed nearly 1,000,000 demons, the lives of his disciples could not be redeemed. All of a sudden, Xiaohua's heart was filled with regret. He regretted all the cover-up he had done in order to uncover the mastermind. If he had stood out earlier, interrogated Shui Mingzi earlier, and rushed to Bai Qingyu earlier, Changyu would not have died. Nearly half of the Fortune Gates disciples on the soaring Dragon Mountain range would not have died. Taoist Master Xiao, please restrain your grief. Seeing Xiaohua's complicated expression, Taoist Master Qing Su hurried forward and bowed. Although your sect's disciples have suffered some casualties, they died defending Taoist Master's reputation. They died in the battle with the demons. Their deaths are the victory of our human race, the price of our human race's dignity. Their deaths are great. Their deaths will certainly be recorded in the annals of history. When our Tao Gate rises in the future, their deaths will be recited by thousands of generations of Tao Gate's disciples. AI. Hearing Taoist Master Qing Su's words, Xiaohua nodded slightly. He also understood in his heart that it was too late to say anything now. Regret was useless. Moreover, regardless of whether he chose to cover it up or not, many things would still happen. Things in the world would never go according to one's thoughts. It was impossible for his disciples to never die. Wait for me to rise. Xiaohua waved his hand to let Xiong Yi and Prince Lan rise. He said solemnly, "None of you did anything wrong. What was wrong was the ambition and selfish desires of some people. You were too weak to resist the schemes of others. It was inevitable that you had to pay some price. Yes, master. Xiongyi stood up, still full of guilt. Although Prince Lan's face was sad, he was happy in his heart. How is the soaring dragon mountain range? Xiaohua asked again. Xiongyi said, when we came here, there was nothing wrong. However, there are too many eyes and ears in the immortal palace. Disciples trading with the Luo Yi Merchant Union and going out for training will fall into the immortal palace's eyes and ears. According to the latest news from the Luo Yi Merchant Union, the immortal palace might be going on a crusade against the soaring dragon mountain range. Master, we have to hurry back, Prince Lan hurriedly advised. With these 200,000 Fortune Gate disciples, we won't be afraid of the immortal palace's crusade in the future. Don't worry. Xiaohua nodded and said, Wang Bianfei, Yu Zhongquan, and the others have already brought a group of disciples back to the Soaring Dragon Mountain Range. With them there, the Soaring Dragon Mountain Range will be safe. Moreover, times have changed. The Immortal Palace might not go on a crusade against the Soaring Dragon Mountain Range. That's good. Xiongyi raised his eyebrows and said, this disciple was worried that senior brother Li Xiang would be unable to support himself in the Fortune Gate Dao Palace. After Xiongyi finished speaking, Prince Lan pointed at Taoist Master Qing Su and said, Master, this is Taoist Master Qing Su. Master should know them. They came to Bai Qingyu to rescue Master under the Grand Mist Ancestor's orders. However, they did not send a message to us and only arrived just before the battle began. It's fine. It's better to have a heart than not. It's better to come than not. Xiaohua forced a smile and said, this Xiao thanks the Grand Mist Ancestor for his concern. Taoist Qing Su, please bring this Xiao's gratitude back. Yes, this junior will definitely do so. Taoist Master Qing Su was very happy to see Xiaohua still calling him Taoist. He bowed and said, when this junior met senior for the first time, I already said that the ancestor has made it his mission to revitalize the Dao sect. He will treat all Dao sect's cultivators as his disciples. When this junior reported senior's matter to the ancestor attached great importance to it. Later, didn't this junior pay a special visit to senior? This time, when the ancestor heard that senior was in trouble, he didn't hesitate and prepared to come personally. However, many of the ancestor's friends dissuaded him. They believed that if the ancestor showed himself, he would be attacked by the Immortal Palace and the Lightning Sound Temple. This was not appropriate for the Dao sect in the 3 continents. Under their death persuasion, the ancestor had no choice but to give up his original plan. That's why he sent I and a dozen other Taoists to rescue Senior. Chapter 44:16. At this point, Taoist Master Qing Su's face was filled with surprise. He looked at Xiaohua and asked tentatively, who knew? Senior's cultivation was actually so deep. Although we came, we couldn't help Senior at all. Moreover, we had to rely on Senior's disciples to save us. Oh, right. Senior is probably a tribulation-passing cultivator of our human race now, right? Xiaohua naturally understood that the tribulation Taoist Master Qing Su mentioned was different from the one on Donrain mainland. He pondered for a moment and didn't hide it. He smiled and said, I was lucky enough to have reached the Grand Ascension stage. Taoist Master Qing Su had met Xiaohua 200 years ago and had some understanding of Xiaohua's strength. He couldn't believe that Xiaohua had surpassed him by so much in just a few hundred years. Moreover, he had only met Xiaohua once before following the Fortune Gate disciples to attack the Heaven-Concealing Ridge and Ancient Bell Mountain. The highest cultivation among the Fortune Gate disciples was close to the lower 8th grade. Therefore, Taoist Master Qing Su guessed that Xiaohua was a tribulation-passing cultivator. However, he still underestimated Xiaohua's strength. He couldn't help but exclaim, How is this possible? At this point, he immediately realized that he had been rude and quickly bowed. Senior, please don't blame me. Junior was just too surprised. Junior didn't expect Senior's cultivation to have reached the heavens. Don't blame me. Don't blame me. You and I are old acquaintances. No wonder you are surprised. Xiaohua was already numb to this kind of surprise. He smiled and waved his hand. He looked at Master Heaven Flipping Master and said, "These fellow Taoists are unfamiliar, Io." Taoist Master Ching Su slapped his forehead and said with a smile, "I was just thinking about talking to Senior. I was so surprised by the miracle of Senior's cultivation progress that I forgot to introduce him. He is also a disciple of Ancestor. His name is Master Heaven Flipping Master." This is, before he could finish, Xiao Hua smiled and said, "So you are Master Heaven Flipping Master. This Xiao has heard of your name for a long time, but I have never seen you before." Xiao Hua's words sounded like a compliment, but in fact, there was a reason for it. That year on the Great Snow Mountain, he met Xian, who had disguised herself as Xian, and the little monk Ci Hui, who was the physical body of Manjushri Bodhisattva of Namo Great Wisdom, who had yet to attain fruition. They even went to look for Fantion Venerable together. It was at Fantion Venerable's abode that Xiao Hua and the others met Guzhan, the Buddhist sect's protector. Master Heaven Flipping Master didn't know these secrets. Junior's Heaven Flipping Master greets Senior. "Senior, Junior's cultivation. How can Junior compare with Senior's cultivation with Senior?" "Hee." Xiao Hua smiled and nodded. He then met with the other cultivators of the Tao sect. In the end, Taoist Ching Su said respectfully, "Senior, before we came here, the Ancestor said that if we succeed in the rescue, we must invite Senior to see the Ancestor. Now, Junior doesn't dare to ask Senior to go personally, but I hope Senior can agree. Once we return, we will report to Ancestor and ask Ancestor to choose a time and place to meet Senior. Now, Senior and Ancestor are the only supreme cultivators in our Tao sect. Both Seniors are the pillars of our Tao sect. The revival of our Tao sect will fall on the shoulders of both Seniors. Juniors are looking forward to the two Seniors joining hands." Xiao Hua had already seen the face of the Grand Mist Ancestor when he had just arrived in the Three Mainlands. He wasn't interested in this kind of ugly cultivator, even if this cultivator had taken it upon himself to revive the Tao sect. However, Huang Xiaolong was clear that he could avoid meeting the Grand Mist Ancestor when his cultivation was still low. Now that his cultivation was on par with the Grand Mist Ancestor, he was bound to meet the Grand Mist Ancestor. Since that was the case, Xiao Hua was looking forward to seeing Grand Mist Ancestor's expression when they met. "You can report this to fellow Taoist Grand Mist." Xiao Hua smiled and said, "When we return to the hidden immortal mainland, you can arrange the meeting with Xiong Yi." "Many thanks, Senior." Taoist Master Ching Su was happy to hear Xiao Hua agree. "Since that's the case, we will take our leave and report this to Ancestor. There's no need to rush. We will go together." Xiao Hua smiled and said, "After all, there are many demons in the Thousand Demons sacred realm. Bai Qingyu's actions will definitely attract the attention of many demon kings. If you go back alone, there will be many obstructions. And then we will respectfully accept. We will borrow Senior's reputation to avoid some dangers." Taoist Master Ching Su said with a smile, "Junior will not disturb Senior. Junior will go and talk to fellow Taoist Xiong Yi and fellow Taoist Lan about future matters." Xiao Hua agreed with a smile and left Xiong Yi and Lan with Taoist Master Ching Su and Venerable Master Ching Su. Seeing that there was no one in front of Xiao Hua, Ao Zhantian hurriedly brought Su Tingzi and the other cultivators over. Before they even got close, Ao Zhantian said respectfully, "Junior greets Master Xiao." Su Tingzi panicked and said in a low voice, "Junior didn't know that Senior was Yulong. Please forgive Junior for offending you along the way." Pahong and the other cultivators apologized like Su Tingzi. They were all terrified. After all, they had said many bad things about AOE. However, Su Tingzi was more remorseful than panic, especially when he heard Ao Zhantian call Xiao Hua Master Xiao. Previously, at Yaodai Mountain, Xiao Hua wanted to take him as his disciple because of Su Tingzi's help. Unfortunately, Su Tingzi was too cautious and was afraid that Xiao Hua's power would bring disaster to him. Now, Su Tingzi was still at the mid-nascent soul stage, but Xiao Hua was no longer at the 5th stage. How could a human Mahayana realm cultivator accept a mid-nascent soul stage cultivator as his disciple, especially when this cultivator had rejected him directly? At this moment, Su Tingzi wished he could go back 200 years and kneel in front of Xiao Hua and acknowledge him as his master. Xiaohua naturally wouldn't make things difficult for these juniors. He smiled and helped Su Tingzi and the others up. What happened in the past is already in the past. Don't mind it too much. If I wasn't with you all, I wouldn't have known about Shui Mingzi's evil intentions. Therefore, not only are you all not at fault, you all have contributed greatly. Moreover, I'm very happy that you all came to Bai Qingyu. From today onwards, all of your previous vows are null and void. Pahong and the others were even more disappointed. They wanted to serve Xiaohua for another 1,000 years. Unfortunately, Xiaohua no longer cared about the loyalty of these nascent soul stage cultivators. Actually, Pahong and the others wanted to mention serving Xiaohua, but they didn't expect Xiaohua to block their path before they could even speak. Even if they wanted to speak again, it was impossible. Many thanks, Senior. Although Pahong and the others thanked him, their tone was filled with disappointment. Just as they were about to fly to the side, Xiaohua suddenly smiled and said, I already know that you all wanted to come to Bai Qingyu to rescue me. Now that my fortune gate wants to spread its influence on the hidden immortal mainland, we need a lot of disciples. If you are willing, you can find a suitable master among my fortune gate disciples. As long as you find one, I will let them accept you as their disciples. How about it? Many thanks, Senior. Pahong and the others thanked him again. This time, their tone was filled with ecstasy. Xiaohua was already a grand ascension stage cultivator. How bad could his disciples be? Ao Zhantian and Su Tingzi, stay behind. The rest of you can go first. After I make arrangements, you all will return to the hidden immortal mainland with the Fortune Gate disciples. Xiaohua waved his hand and said. Hearing Xiaohua's words, Su Tingzi's heart was filled with joy. After Pahong and the others left, Ao Zhantian frowned and said, Master Xiao, you saw what these cultivators did. They colluded with Shui Mingzi. Although they don't have any intention of harming Master Xiao, I still feel that they are unreliable. And Xiaohua nodded and smiled. I understand. I was just about to ask you, how did you deal with Shui Mingzi's matter? Of course, I killed him. Ao Zhantian said without hesitation. That bastard colluded with the ancient Bell Mountain's demonic beasts. Not only did he want to harm Master Xiao, he also coveted the Dao Gate's forces on the hidden immortal mainland. If I don't kill him, who else should I kill? Other than him? Xiaohua smiled and said, It seems like there are still 4 cultivators missing. And those 4 have already been persuaded by Shui Mingzi and are preparing to join the ancient Bell Mountain. When they reach Bai Qingyu, they will attack Master Xiao and nullify the blood oath they made. Ao Zhantian explained. As for the rest, they are still hesitating, so I didn't make a move. Isn't that the case? Xiaohua smiled. When faced with a life-threatening situation, anyone would have selfish thoughts. As long as they still have a conscience in their hearts, I feel that they can still be saved. Moreover, under this kind of test, I feel that I have let down the Fortune Gate's disciples and all of you, not to mention them. What's the harm in giving them another chance? AI, Senior is too kind. Ao Zhantian smiled bitterly. This junior can't do such a thing. Junior likes to be decisive when killing and doesn't want to be sloppy. As long as there's an opportunity to make a move, I will immediately make a move. That's good. Xiaohua smiled. If I can't do it, I'll leave it to you. And no problem. Ao Zhantian didn't think much about Xiaohua's words and casually agreed. However, just as he finished speaking, he suddenly understood something. He looked at Xiaohua and couldn't believe his ears. When Xiaohua nodded slightly, he turned around and knelt in the air. He kowtowed and said, Disciple Ao Zhantian greets Master. Get up. After Ao Zhantian kowtowed 9 times, Xiaohua helped Ao Zhantian up and said, Master has already taught you the Dao Gate's magic arts. Moreover, you came to Bai Qingyu to rescue Master, and you didn't forget your original intentions in the face of Shui Mingzi's temptation. Master naturally won't disappoint you. In the future, you have to deal with the Fortune Gate's affairs with Xiong Yi, Prince Lan, and the others. Do more things that Master doesn't like to do. Yes, Master, disciple understands. Rest assured. Ao Zhantian had always called Xiaohua Master Xiao and had long regarded Xiaohua as his master. Now that his dream had come true, he couldn't stop smiling. Congratulations, Senior Ao. Su Tingzi's mouth was filled with bitterness as he cupped his fists and congratulated Xiaohua. Chapter 44:17. F***. Ao Zhantian was overjoyed. When he saw Su Tingzi congratulating him, he scolded Su Tingzi, "Master asked you to stay, but didn't you follow me and fight Shui Mingzi without any regard for your life? Why don't you understand what Master means? Do you still need Master to say it out loud? Hurry up and thank Master." Ao Zhantian's words struck Su Tingzi like a bolt of lightning. He looked at Xiaohua in a daze and opened his mouth. He wanted to ask if Ao Zhantian was telling the truth, but he couldn't say anything. Pfff. Ao Zhantian kicked Su Tingzi's leg, and Su Tingzi's knees went soft, and he fell to his knees. Only then did he come to his senses. He cried and kowtowed, "Disciple Su Tingzi greets Master. I was blind and missed the opportunity. Disciple thanks Master for not abandoning me." Similarly, after Su Tingzi kowtowed 9 times, Xiaohua helped him up and said with a smile, "What's lost is lost. It will never return. If you hadn't stood out from the crowd that day, Master definitely wouldn't have given you another chance. However, since you've done it, the opportunity has come. Master won't say anything else. From now on, follow Ao Zhantian and take care of the affairs of the Fortune Gate." "Yes, Master. Disciple understands." Su Tingzi was overjoyed but also a little ashamed. After replying, he followed Ao Zhantian to greet Xiong Yi and the other Fortune Gate disciples. Xiong Yi and the others saw Ao Zhantian and Su Tingzi formally acknowledging Xiaohua as master, and they all congratulated them with smiles. Ingpa waited for a while, but no one came forward. Xiaohua personally sent a voice transmission, "Fellow immortaling P. Why aren't you coming over?" Only then did Ingpa rush over with a few elders. He bowed and said, "Junior greets Master Xiao. Wait for me." Xiaohua looked at Ingpa's respectful attitude and the many elders behind him. He smiled and said, "I'm still the same old Xiao. It's just that I'm stronger now. This is more beneficial for the cooperation between the Fortune Gate and the Fortune Gate. You don't need to think too much." "Yes, Teacher Xiao will forever be our clan's Teacher Xiao." Ingpa nodded. "No matter what realm you are at." Finished speaking, Ingpa hurriedly took out a beast skin and handed it to Xiaohua. "Master Xiao, Junior has received news that the Immortal Palace may be going on a punitive expedition to the Soaring Dragon Mountain Range in the near future. Previously in the war, Junior has already informed Xiong Yi. However, it was too chaotic at that time, so I couldn't explain it clearly. This is the beast skin used to transmit the message. Senior, please check it carefully. Send these Fortune Gate disciples back. If the news is true, the Soaring Dragon Mountain Range's Fortune Gate disciples will suffer more losses." Xiaohua was very happy to see that Ingpa did not say anything and hurriedly told him about the Soaring Dragon Mountain Range. He took the animal skin and looked at it carefully. After calculating the time, he knew that it was not long before he left the Great Snow Mountain Range. At that time, Sun Jian had not left the Shenhua continent. At this time, if there were no accidents, Sun Jian should have returned to the Immortal Palace. According to Sun Jian's knowledge, he must have reported this matter to the Immortal Emperor. How could the Immortal Emperor hastily send troops to the Soaring Dragon Mountain Range? Therefore, Xiaohua smiled and said, "This news was sent a long time ago. If the Immortal Palace had received the latest news from our Fortune Gate, they might not be in such a hurry to send troops to the Soaring Dragon Mountain Range. Moreover, one day in the Immortal Palace is equivalent to 1 year on the surface. Once this news travels back and forth between the Immortal Palace and the so-called court discussion, there won't be any results for several years. At that time, we would have already returned to the Soaring Dragon Mountain Range. Who would be afraid of them?" Teacher Xiao is right. Ingpa nodded. Junior is afraid that the Immortal Palace would not have received the exact news and send troops rashly. The Soaring Dragon Mountain Range's troops are insufficient at this time, which would make us regret it. Before this Xiao came to the Thousand Demons Sacred Domain, I had already sent my disciples back to the Soaring Dragon Mountain Range. Xiaohua smiled. With their cultivation of 7th or 8th grade essence force, they won't have any pressure to deal with those immortal soldiers and immortal generals. When Ingpa heard that Xiaohua's disciples had cultivation of 8th grade essence force, A trace of envy appeared in his eyes. He smiled apologetically. If that is the case, then Junior is relieved. Junior will send my clansmen back to gather information, so that I can inform Teacher Xiao of the latest situation. This matter is not urgent. Xiao Hua smiled and waved his hand, asking Ingpe, how many of your people died this time? All right, Teacher Xiao knows. Ingpe smiled apologetically. My clan is of the demon race, so coming to Bai Qingyu is not considered difficult. However, we lost 10% of our people when fighting under Bai Qingyu's command, which is 100 times better than what we expected. When you came to Bai Qingyu, did you not plan to go back? Xiao Hua asked. Ingpe nodded. I won't hide this matter from Teacher Xiao. What the other clansmen thought, Junior is like this. The matters of the Endless Merchant Union have already been handed over to others, but the position of Patriarch has not been pushed out. Oh, why? Xiao Hua was startled and asked curiously. Ingpe said proudly, because this time, Junior is leading 6,000 clansmen. If all of them are unable to return, my clan will probably not exist in the 3 continents. Junior can choose whether or not to take the position of Patriarch. Xiao Hua's heart trembled, and he bowed, fellow immortal. This Xiao will definitely repay you for your kindness. When the human Grand Ascension stage expert bowed, Ingpe and the other elders' knees went soft, and they almost fell to their knees. Unfortunately, Xiao Hua's divine sense swept over them and supported them. Ingpe could only cry out, Teacher Xiao has done a lot for my clan. If it weren't for Teacher Xiao, my clan and the Endless Merchant Union would not exist. My clan is willing to live and die with Teacher Xiao. Good in that case. My Fortune Gate and the Endless Merchant Union have formed a life and death alliance. Xiao Hua raised his right hand and placed it in front of Ingpe. As long as my Fortune Gate exists, the Endless Merchant Union exists. Ingpe's eyes lit up, and he slowly raised his right claw. There was still a lot of mane on his right claw, and it shone brightly in the night sky. Ingpe said, my Endless Merchant Union is willing to form a life and death alliance with the Fortune Gate. I, Ingpe, represent the Endless Merchant Union and swear that as long as my Endless Merchant Union exists, the Fortune Gate exists. The human Grand Ascension stage expert's hand and the demonic beast's claw collided. Due to the presence of the mane, there wasn't much of a sound when they clapped hands. However, this was a promise that was as solid as gold, and a sincere alliance was formed before everyone's eyes. Ingpe, thank your clansmen on my behalf. We're now allies, and if there's a chance in the future, we'll meet again at the Soaring Dragon Mountain Range. If there's anything in the Thousand Beast Holy Realm, feel free to tell Xiong Yi or Fujiwen. Xiao Hua smiled and said, as for other matters, we'll discuss them in detail after we return to the hidden immortal continent. I'm confident that I can help you build the Endless Merchant Union into a business union that's even more powerful than the Star-Plucking Tower. Yes, Junior understands. Junior thanks Teacher Xiao. Ingpe was ecstatic, and he bowed deeply to express his gratitude. He knew that with the support of Xiao Hua, a Grand Ascension stage human cultivator, and the Fortune Gate, an unprecedented Taoist sect, how could the trade union not surpass the Star-Plucking Pavilion? Of course, Ingpe also understood that the Endless Stream Merchant Union had long been tied to the Fortune Gate. If Xiao Hua and the Fortune Gate were to be attacked by Confucian cultivators and Buddhist sects, or if the ancient immortals and Buddhas joined forces to destroy the Tao, then his Endless Stream Merchant Union would not be able to survive. However, how bad could that outcome be compared to what he had prepared for the day before? All of you, go rest on the lightning boat. Xiao Hua helped Ingpe up with a smile and said, we'll return to the Soaring Dragon Mountain Range right away. Yes, Ingpe had just gotten up when he suddenly thought of something, and he hurriedly took out a universal bracelet. After searching through it for a moment, he took out a jade-eye bracelet and respectfully handed it to Xiao Hua and said, Teacher Xiao, there's something that Junior almost forgot. It's been over 200 years, and if Teacher Xiao hadn't mentioned the Star-Plucking Tower, Junior would have really forgotten about it. Oh, what's the matter? Xiao Hua was taken aback, and he took the jade-eye bracelet, but didn't immediately examine it. All right, I'll let Teacher Xiao know. Ingpe recalled a little and answered, that year, after Teacher Xiao left the Feather Spirit Bay, about 10 days later, A Confucian cultivator came to my Yazi auction to find Teacher Xiao. Junior was preparing for the auction, so I ignored him and pretended that I didn't know Teacher Xiao. That Confucian cultivator didn't say much, and only said that he came from the star-plucking tower, and that he had seen Teacher Xiao in the star-plucking tower, and was an old acquaintance of Teacher Xiao. Xiao Hua's heart skipped a beat. He naturally knew that Confucian cultivator must be the mysterious Professor Dushan Jundu, so he smiled and asked, "Did that Confucian cultivator leave his name?" "No." Ingpu shook his head and said, "Junior not only doesn't know his name, but now that I think about it, it seems that Junior can't remember his appearance. If Junior hadn't seen Teacher Xiao, Junior really wouldn't have remembered this matter." "What else did he say?" Xiao Hua was even more certain in his heart and asked, "You couldn't have also forgotten, right?" "No." Ing Po's eyes revealed surprise. Junior remembers everything he said even more clearly. He gave this jade eye bracelet to Junior and said that Junior must give it to Teacher Xiao. He also said that this matter is very important to him. Oh, right. He also asked Junior to say something to Teacher Xiao. What is it? Xiao Hua's brows were tightly knitted, and he was rather puzzled. This is your last chance, and you are his only hope. Ing Pu looked at Xiao Hua and said each word clearly. His tone was very serious, as if Dushan Jun had said it to Xiao Hua face to face. Hiss. Xiao Hua was shocked and hurriedly asked, "Ing Pu, do you know about the Star Moon Palace?" "I know." Ing Pu nodded. "This kind of ancient ruin is very famous in the 3 continents. How could Junior not know?" At this point, Ing Pu somewhat understood and said with a smile, "Is Senior talking about the appearance of the Star Moon Palace this time?" Damn it. Xiao Hua already knew what was recorded in the Jade Eye bracelet, and he was also very sure that the person who went to the Luo Yi Merchant Union to look for him was undoubtedly Dushan Jun. He slightly thought about it, and then secretly cursed. Previously at the Star-Plucking Tower in Yuling Bay, Zhong Qiao once said that the Star Moon Palace might open within 200 years. However, this is only a guess. Perhaps 2,000 years is also possible. Looks like the Star Moon Palace hasn't opened yet. Dushan Jun is urging me to go to the Star Moon Palace to keep the appointment. Chapter 44:18. As expected, Ing Pao continued. Although the Star Moon Palace is an ancient ruin that many humans and demons in the 3 continents know about, the news of the Star Moon Palace's appearance is extremely secretive. Everyone wants to snatch the right to enter the Star Moon Palace. Everyone wants to search for opportunities in the Star Moon Palace. Once any human or demon obtains the news, they won't tell anyone else. It is only in the recent decades that the continuous merchant union has grown bigger and bigger, and the information it has obtained has also increased. This junior is qualified to know some of the Star Moon Palace's secrets. However, even so, Junior only knows that the Star Moon Palace may appear in the Thousand Demons Sacred Territory's easternmost region in a few months. As for the specific location and time, Junior is not particularly clear. Hearing this, Xiao Hua hesitated. He had thought that the Star Moon Palace had opened long ago, so he had thrown the matter of the Star Moon Palace to the back of his mind. According to his plan, he was prepared to bring the 200,000 Fortune Gate disciples back to the hidden immortal mainland. However, the Star Moon Palace was about to open, and he had previously made an agreement with Doshan Jun to follow him into the Star Moon Palace. Thus, he had no choice but to give up on returning to the hidden immortal mainland and head to the Thousand Demons Sacred Territory's easternmost region. Of course, Xiao Hua was hesitant because he had returned to the 3 continents in a high-profile manner. First, he had defeated the 4 Sea Dragon Kings and destroyed the Southern Sea Dragon Palace. Then, he had defeated the demonic beast race's 3 great sages and massacred by Qingyu. This would definitely attract the attention of the Immortal Palace. He could not guarantee that Sun Wu would be able to persuade the Immortal Emperor to not attack the Soaring Dragon Mountain Range. If he went to the Star Moon Palace, the Soaring Dragon Mountain Range might be destroyed. As for whether he would go to the Star Moon Palace, he did not hesitate at all. This was because Doshan Jun's help to him was simply too great. Not to mention the lightning cultivation method, not to mention the Crimson Infant technique, just the darkness breaking pill, void bearing pill, lotus connecting pill, and jade heaven pill that Doshan Jun had given Xiao Hua in the stargazing pavilion in Yuling Bay. as well as the pill formulas that they had refined, had played an extremely crucial role in Xiao Hua's cultivation. The darkness-breaking pill was a necessary pill to break through the bottleneck of the nascent soul realm and enter the spirit-severing realm. The void-bearing pill was used to break through to the void refinement realm, the lotus-connecting pill was used to break through to the unity realm, and the jade heaven pill was used to break through to the Ma ascension realm. Without these medicinal pills, Xiao Hua would have wasted the 20,000 years in the heavenly prison, and it would be impossible for him to reach the Deshang stage at this time. Moreover, Do Shanjun had already made it clear that he would not let Xiao Hua do anything that went against Xiao Hua's conscience. In fact, the most reassuring thing for Xiao Hua was that Do Shanjun's words had revealed some secrets. The Grand Mist Ancestor, who was currently in the limelight, seemed to have received Do Shanjun's help, and the Grand Mist Ancestor did not repay Do Shanjun in the end. Even so, Do Shanjun did not withdraw his help to the Grand Mist Ancestor, nor did he punish the Grand Mist Ancestor. Do Shanjun was so magnanimous, presumably, he wouldn't have any schemes against Xiao Hua. Xiao Hua was also willing to work for such a person. In particular, the words that Do Shanjun asked Ing Bo to bring to Xiao Hua caused Xiao Hua's hesitation to quickly turn into a decision. Xiao Hua understood that Do Shanjun's remarkable abilities far exceeded his imagination. Even though he was already a Deshang stage cultivator, he still had not completely comprehended the jade slip that Do Shanjun gave him. That Crimson Infant technique still had a large part of it that he did not understand. Previously, when Xiao Hua was in the spirit-severing stage, he might not have understood, but now that he was a supreme cultivator of the three mainlands, how could he not know that this Crimson Infant technique was definitely not a cultivation technique from the cultivation world? In other words, Do Shanjun was definitely not a cultivator from the cultivation world. He must have come from the upper realm. Of course, whether this upper realm was the ruins or the desolate continent that Xiao Hua had been to before, Xiao Hua did not know. Since that was the case, Xiao Hua could infer that if there were no rules of the three mainlands, Do Shanjun's strength would far surpass his by a lot. Xiao Hua himself knew how to predict the future, and he would have some enlightenment on a whim. Then Do Shanjun would definitely have an even more mysterious technique to divine the future. In that case, Do Shanjun did not put that sentence in the jade eyes, and instead asking Per to bring it to him. It meant that he wanted Xiao Hua to take it seriously. Xiao Hua even vaguely felt that the Do Shanjun from 200 years ago should have already divined that only Ing Po could bring the jade eyes to him 200 years later, which was why he paid a visit to Ing Po. Do Shanjun had already taken it seriously, and had already made it clear that this was his last chance, and Xiao Hua was also his only hope, so how could Xiao Hua not fulfill his promise? Hee. Xiao Hua made a decision, and then smiled as he thought, even if Sun Jian can't persuade immortal Emperor Gaochen, isn't there still Xian in the Immortal Palace? With such a big commotion in the soaring Dragon Mountain range, how could she not know? With a little advice from her, Immortal Emperor Gaochen will definitely think about it, and he will definitely understand the importance of this Xiao to Confucian cultivators. The so-called true Confucian, isn't it to search for the 5 Qis unifications cultivation technique, to search for the foundation of Xiantian true Qi? At this time, Ingpa smiled and said, Master Xiao, in this junior's opinion, now that Master Zhao's cultivation is so profound, I'm afraid there's no need for you to go to the Star Moon Palace. On the other hand, the Fortune Gate's 7th and 8th grade disciples need to go to the Star Moon Palace to try their luck. Opportunities. Xiao Hua smiled. In terms of opportunities, could the Star Moon Palace compare to the ruins and the desolate continent? The opportunities that Lu Yi and the others had in the upper realm were many times more than the Star Moon Palace. Xiao Hua's own accumulation in the upper realm was only completed at the moment of life and death. Lu Yi and the others didn't know how long it would take for them to fully comprehend those accumulations, so there was really no need for them to go to the Star Moon Palace. Thus, Xiao Hua replied, It's a pity that they've already rushed back to the soaring Dragon Mountain range, so I'm afraid they don't have time to go to the Star Moon Palace. That's true. Ingpa slapped his own forehead and smiled. The soaring Dragon Mountain range might be attacked by the Immortal Palace. This junior forgot about that. Hearing this, Xiao Hua's heart moved, and he asked again, What about nascent soul cultivators? Are they suitable to go to the Star Moon Palace? Of course they're suitable. Ingpa smiled and said, The 7th or 8th grade essence force that this junior mentioned in the previous 3 continents referred to the Confucian cultivators and the demonic beast race. How could there be 7th or 8th grade essence force cultivators in the Tao sect? Only 3rd or 4th grade essence force cultivators would go. It's just that there are very few Tao sect cultivators who know this kind of secret information. All right. Xiaohua nodded and said, "Ask the elders in the clan to return to the Thunder ship first. I have something to tell you." Seeing that Xiaohua had something to entrust to him, Yingpe was extremely happy and led the elders back to the Thunder ship. After Yingpe left, Xiaohua asked Xiong Yi, Prince Lan, Ao Zhantian, Su Tingzi, and the other nascent soul disciples to come over. After thinking for a while, he also called Zhai Xingzi and the others over. Everyone didn't know what was going on, so they stood at the side and listened respectfully. After Yingpe returned, Xiaohua spoke. "I have something to discuss with all of you, and I want to hear your opinions." Xiong Yi was surprised. He glanced at Prince Lan and the others and said, "Master, please speak." Zhai Xingzi exchanged glances with Zhang Daoran and nodded. "Spiritual Master, please speak." Xiaohua told them about the Star Moon Palace, and finally said, "I'm preparing to head to the extreme east of the Thousand Demons' sacred realm to explore the Star Moon Palace, and I want to ask your opinions if you're willing to go together. Of course, I don't need to say more about the dangers of the Star Moon Palace. All of you should know. Therefore, if I can protect all of you in the Star Moon Palace, I will definitely do so. If I can't, then it means that your fate hasn't arrived." "Master," Prince Lan hurriedly asked, "if we go to the Star Moon Palace, what about the Fortune Gate's disciples? Do you want Black Bear and the others to bring them back?" "No." Xiaohua shook his head and said, "Black Bear, White Lion, and Golden Eagle are from the demonic beast race. They can lead the troops for a while, but they can't bring them back. I'm planning to let Spiritual Master Jingting and Xin Songzi bring them back to the hidden immortal mainland, but they aren't good at commanding troops. I want to invite Yingpe of the Flowing Merchant Union to be the military advisor." Hearing Xiaohua's words, Prince Lan's mind started to work. The current situation was obvious. The Fortune Gate's disciples that Xiaohua brought back were much stronger than the Fortune Gate's disciples in the Soaring Dragon Mountain range. In the future, the Fortune Gate's overall situation would be controlled by these disciples. Furthermore, Xiaohua wasn't interested in the sect's affairs. Everything would be left to the disciples to handle. Xiong Yi, Prince Lan, and Li Xiang's positions would definitely change in the future. The era where they could give orders to the Fortune Gate's people was gone forever. If they wanted to occupy a place in the Fortune Gate in the future, other than strength, they would need to command troops and wield authority. Prince Lan was well aware that no matter how great the opportunity in the Star Moon Palace was, it was impossible for him to advance to the 7th grade in one go. Even if he really reached the 7th grade, there were still Lu Yi, Yu Zhongquan, and the others above him. He wouldn't have any chance to stand out in the Fortune Gate. The path of cultivation was already bleak, so the only path left was to command troops and wield authority. Right now, in front of Prince Lan, it was an excellent opportunity. These 200,000 Fortune Gate's disciples didn't seem to be familiar with the 3 mainlands. Xiaohua wasn't particularly familiar with and trusted the disciples at the 7th or 8th grade. Otherwise, he wouldn't have let Daoist Jingding and Xin Songzi lead the troops. He even let Yingpe from the demonic beast clan be his advisor. If Prince Lan took advantage of this opportunity to command troops, not only would he be able to build a good relationship with the disciples at the 7th or 8th grade, he would also be able to occupy a better position before the new Fortune Gate structure was clear. Moreover, Prince Lan was looking forward to the Immortal Palace's punitive expedition. He understood that the immortal soldiers and generals that could come on the expedition were at the 4th grade at most. In front of these 200,000 ferocious beasts, they were just appetizers. If he could command troops, it would be a great merit. When Xiongyi returned from the Star Moon Palace, how could Xiongyi be ranked ahead of him? It could be said that this was the opportunity that Prince Lan had been dreaming of. As for the opportunity in the Star Moon Palace, Prince Lan could see clearly. Not to mention the risks, the so-called opportunity might not be much better than the Fortune Gates. Not to mention, with the authority to command troops and speak in the sect's affairs, he would also have cultivation resources. In fact, He wouldn't have to worry about his cultivation speed falling behind others. Who knew? He might even surpass the disciples who had entered the Star Moon Palace in the future. Chapter 44:19. Thinking of this, Prince Lan glanced at Xiong Yi, who was about to speak, and quickly volunteered. He bowed and said, "Master, Disciple has known about the Star Moon Palace for a long time, but Disciple has never had the opportunity to go there. Now that Master has placed this opportunity in front of Disciple, Disciple is really excited. However, compared to the Fortune Gates affairs, Disciple feels that Disciple's opportunity is far less important than the Fortune Gate's development. Only when the Fortune Gate thrives can Disciple obtain more opportunities. Therefore, Disciple has decided, Disciple will give up this opportunity to solve Master's problem. Disciple will bring these disciples back to the soaring Dragon Mountain range to resist the Immortal Palace's invasion." Oh? Xiaohua was taken aback. He was indeed having a headache about the 200,000 soldiers returning, but it was not as serious as Prince Lan had said. After all, there were still some high-level disciples among the 200,000 soldiers. With them around, there would not be any trouble. As for the problems they would encounter along the way, Yingpu was more than enough to deal with them. That being said, hearing that Prince Lan was willing to give up his opportunity to contribute to the Fortune Gate, Xiaohua was overjoyed. He smiled and asked, "Prince Lan, have you really decided?" Disciple feels that not only Disciple thinks so, senior brother Xiong Yi probably thinks so too. Prince Lan respectfully said, "After all, on the hidden immortal mainland, our Tao Gate's disciples were bullied by Confucian cultivators. It is not easy for the soaring Dragon Mountain Range's Fortune Gate to grow to such a scale. Disciple and the others are not willing to turn this into nothingness." Indeed. Xiong Yi also spoke. Disciple is also willing to bring these disciples back to the soaring Dragon Mountain Range and let senior brother Li Xiang rush to the Star Moon Palace. Good. Xiaohua clapped his hands and said, "Master is comforted to have disciples like you. As long as you sincerely cooperate and help our Fortune Gate, there will be more opportunities like the Star Moon Palace in the future." Subsequently, Xiaohua sent a voice transmission to Prince Lan. "Also, you should remember where Changyu died, right?" When Prince Lan heard this, he was stunned for a moment before replying, "Yes, Master. Disciple will never forget that place. You should also know the demonic beast race that perished together with Changyu." Of course. Prince Lan seemed to understand what Xiaohua wanted to say and nodded his head firmly. There was a trace of joy to be seen in his eyes. "Good. Kill them and avenge your junior brother," Xiaohua ordered coldly. Then, with a wave of his hand, he took out a bottle of pills and a jade-eye pendant from his bosom and handed them to Prince Lan. He said, "This is Master's reward for you. I won't say the names of the cultivation methods and medicinal pills. You can comprehend them yourself first. If you feel that the time is right, you can take the medicinal pills. I guarantee that you will be able to break through to the middle stage of nascent soul before I return. Master will to help you break through to late stage." His Highness Lan was overjoyed. He originally wanted to decline and express his noble character and unquestionable integrity, but he remembered that Xiaohua didn't like empty formalities, so he hurriedly took it and said, "Thank you, Master. Since Prince Lan is willing to lead the troops, there is no need for Xiong Yi to stay. To go to the to leave. To go to the heaven to and to go. To go time, to gather time. To the ascento the head to head, to place." Yes. Xiong Yi nodded and handed the items to Prince Lan before flying to the Thundership. Xiaohua turned to Yingpu and said, "You don't have to be the military advisor. You can go to your own demon realm with the army." "Junior doesn't have any demon realm." Yingpu smiled bitterly. "Junior will bring my clansmen to the ascento, the ascento, and that's fine. Your clansmen can settle down in the ascento. Xiaohua smiled and said to Xin Songzi and Spiritual Master Jingting, "You two will be Prince Lan's assistants. You must protect him well. Don't let him get hurt." "Yes, Disciple understands." Xin Songzi and Spiritual Master Jingting bowed. "Disciple will definitely protect junior brother Lan." Prince Lan was truly happy with his wise decision. He smiled and cupped his fists. Thank you, Senior Martial Brothers. What about you? Xiao Hua looked at Ao Zhantian and the other disciples. The Star Moon Palace was a great opportunity. How could Ao Zhantian and the other disciples not agree? They all nodded happily. After settling the matters in the Fortune Gate, Xiao Hua asked Zhang Daoran and the others, what about fellow Taoists? Junior is willing to go. Zhai Xingzi was the first to speak, but I don't know if Qiu can go with her injuries. It's fine as long as you want to go. Her injuries aren't a problem. At most, you won't go. Xiao Hua smiled. After all, not everyone has the opportunity to enter. However, fellow Taoists' wedding night will have to be pushed back. F***CK. Only a fool wouldn't go with such a great opportunity. Venerable Master Sun Kong shouted. Go, go. It's the wedding night. Who knows if they've already been singing every night? After saying that, Venerable Master Sun Kong realized that something was wrong. He hurriedly said to Prince Lan, fellow Taoist Prince Lan, I'm not talking about you. After all, we don't have your noble character and unquestionable integrity. When Venerable Master Sun Kong, who was at the 5th grade of Origin Energy, called him fellow Taoist and even mentioned the noble character and unquestionable integrity that he wanted to flaunt, Prince Lan knew that he had made the right choice. He smiled and said, there's no need to mention noble character and unquestionable integrity. It's my duty as a disciple to make some sacrifices for the sect. Venerable Master Sun Kong gave Prince Lan a thumbs up to express his appreciation. Prince Lan didn't mind, but Zhai Xingzi's face was so red that it was about to drip blood. After all, the so-called singing every night had a double meaning. Very well, since everyone is willing, you all can stand to the side. Xiao Hua smiled and glanced at everyone. He then said, in a bit, follow this old man. Xiao Hua raised his hand and slapped the top of his head. Hong! A thunderous sound rang out. True Qi rushed out, and he flew up into the night sky. Soon after, Xiao Hua's body flashed with lightning, and his body suddenly expanded to more than 1,000 zhang tall. High up in the sky, in the space of 100 li, all kinds of thunder rumbled, and thick lightning bolts swam in the night sky like a horned dragon. Not only that, under the horned dragon, Xiantian True Qi condensed into the shape of an auspicious cloud, and all kinds of colored pearls appeared everywhere, protecting Xiao Hua's golden color. Looking at Xiao Hua's feet, the pillars of light from the stars and moon that originally descended from the sky once again appeared from the void, transforming into spirals that supported Xiao Hua, and even transformed into halos that swam up and down within the pearls. When Xiao Hua slightly released his Mahayana aura, a supreme aura that was not inferior to immortal Emperor Gochen and Mavarakana's aura enveloped an area of 1,000 miles. Disciples. Xiao Hua's voice was like a thunderclap. His avatar was like a god. With just a whisper, all 200,000 disciples knelt down and said in unison, Disciples are here. Beast King Bai Qingyu bullied my fortune gate and suppressed my avatar. You defeated Bai Qingyu and your morale soared. The heaven-concealing ridge and ancient Bell Mountain surrendered without a fight, handing over the 2 demon domains to my fortune gate. Xiao Hua added, This is my glory and the glory of all my disciples. From today onward, there will be another invincible army on the 3 mainlands. Our Fortune Gate's great army will be invincible wherever it goes. Whether it's the demon race or the human race, anyone who dares to stand in my way will be killed. Kill, 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 kill. Hundreds of thousands of Fortune Gate disciples killing intent soared into the night sky like rainbows. In the southern part of the night sky, the 7 merciless stars' radiance suddenly shone brightly, as if it wanted to illuminate the entire starry sky. At the same time as the 7 merciless stars' radiance, swish, 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 another 6 rays of starlight shone brightly. They were the Tianfu star, Tianliang star, Tianji star, Tianong star, and Tianxiang star beside the 7 merciless star. The 6 stars of the Southern Dipper lit up the entire southern part of the night sky. Kill. The stars and moon's radiance were invisible, but it dyed the entire thousand demons' sacred grounds. The Fortune Gate's disciples were confused, and their auras surged as they shouted again. Boom! This time, the stars in the sky lit up at the same time. The entire thousand demons' sacred grounds was as bright as day, and countless pillars of starlight fell on a certain spot in the thousand demons' sacred grounds. Oh! Xiaohua was slightly taken aback. The pillars of starlight fell in the same direction as the Feng Wu, golden-winged Great Pong, and the others. If he guessed correctly, it should be where the Great Holy Hall was. When Xiaohua saw that only the Big Dipper wasn't lit up, a smile appeared on his face. Damn it! This must be the Feng Wu's doing. I wonder what kind of fortuitous encounter he had in the Great Holy Hall. Disciples! Xiaohua's voice resounded in the starlight. When the heavens emit killing intent, the stars move. When the earth emits killing intent, dragons and snakes rise. When the humans emit killing intent, heaven and earth overturn. When my fortune gate emits killing intent, the three mainlands tremble. Today, my fortune gate has risen, and the heavens have changed. Today, all of you are escorting the soaring Dragon Mountain Range's disciples back to the Fortune Dao Palace. With Taoist Zhao's orders, all of you shall exterminate anyone who dares to harm my disciples. Anyone who dares to harm my disciples will be exterminated. Yes, we know that anyone who dares to harm my disciples will be exterminated. Anyone who dares to harm my disciples will be exterminated. The group of disciples roared, and their voices surged out in all directions like a tidal wave. Although they didn't know if the demonic beasts could hear them, Taoist Master Qing Su, Venerable Master Fan Tian, and the others paled. They had never seen such an iron-blooded army. Black Bear, White Lion, Golden Condor, where are you? Seeing the unprecedented momentum of the Fortune Gate's disciples, Xiaohua smiled and ordered. Black Bear and the other two demonic beasts didn't understand, but they still stepped out and knelt in the air. Master, we are here. What orders do you have for us? Although you are demonic beasts, you are loyal to my Fortune Gate. You have already submitted to me in the Black Wind Mountain Range. Now, my Fortune Gate has conquered the Bai Qingyu, Ancient Bell Mountain, and Shrouded Sky Ridge. This is my Fortune Gate's foundation in the Thousand Demons' sacred realm. I hereby order you all to guard the Black Bear Beast King, the White Lion Beast King, and the Golden Condor Beast King on my behalf, and become the backbone of my Fortune Gate. Xiaohua ordered. You can recruit disciples in the Thousand Demons' sacred realm, or you can bring the soaring Dragon Mountain Range's demonic beasts over. You can make all the decisions. Chapter 44:20. Thank you, Master. This lowly one thanks, Master. The White Lion and Golden Eagle were overjoyed hearing this. A beast king of a generation. This was something they had never dared to imagine. That day on the Black Wind Ridge, they had called themselves Beast Kings, but that was just arrogance. But today, 200,000 disciples had passed by, and all the fruits of victory were theirs to reap. This was their reward for their loyalty to the Fortune Gate. Ah, Master! The Black Bear hesitated for a moment, then kowtowed. This lowly one has never been ambitious. This lowly one does not want to be a beast king. This lowly one only wants to guard Master's cultivation dwelling. His granny. Xiaohua did not expect the Black Bear to abandon Bai Qingyu, nor did he expect the Black Bear spirit to be so loyal to him. He would rather not be a beast king or a feudal lord than follow him. Xiaohua was touched, but at the same time, he was a little passive. However, a moment later, Xiaohua's heart skipped a beat, and he hurriedly sent a voice transmission to the Black Bear. The Black Bear was stunned for a moment, then he hesitated for a moment before saying righteously, moreover, this lowly one feels that this lowly one is Master's gatekeeper, so it is only right for this lowly one to work for Master, and should not receive any rewards. The Flowing Merchant Union's patriarch Ingbo led his entire tribe to help our Fortune Gate, and they also had a share in trampling Bai Qingyu. This lowly one is willing to give Bai Qingyu to the Ingbo tribe, and make this place their demon territory. Hearing those words, the distant Ingpo was greatly shocked. However, he was both surprised and delighted. Although the Flowing Merchant Union had grown stronger, the Ingbo tribe's overall strength was still weak, and they could not win a place in the Thousand Demons' sacred realm. Furthermore, the demon realms of the Thousand Demons' sacred realm varied in size, but no matter how big or small they were, they all had demon kings, mountain lords, and so on. These demon kings and mountain lords all had the support of even more powerful demon clans, and all of these forces could be traced back to the 6 great saints of the Great Sage Temple. Therefore, if there were no accidents, it would be extremely difficult for the Bo tribe to obtain a demon territory in the Thousand Demons' sacred realm. Although Xiaohua had made it clear that he wanted to invite the Bo tribe to the Soaring Dragon Mountain Range, the Bo tribe was still a demonic beast clan. However, Bo's clansmen were demonic beast clansmen. They could stay in the Soaring Dragon Mountain Range for a while, but they couldn't stay there forever. Moreover, they couldn't stay under the Fortune Gate's protection forever. Therefore, Pu was still willing to establish himself in the Thousand Demons' sacred realm. However, Pu had never imagined that Bai Qingyu would fall into his lap, because the Fortune Gate's disciples were too powerful. Any random Fortune Gate disciple with a cultivation of grade 7 origin Qi realm had the ability to annihilate his entire clan. Moreover, his clan had not obtained any battle merits from the battle with Bai Qingyu, so why should he ask Xiaohua to bestow Bai Qingyu to him? Therefore, the Black Bear's suggestion stunned Pu. He didn't understand why the Black Bear's spirit, whom he didn't know, would take such good care of him. Of course, Xiaohua's words made Pu understand. This was because Xiaohua pondered for a moment before saying with a smile, "Black Bear, you're right. To resist foreign aggression, one must first pacify internal strife. To reward internal strife, one must reward external strife." This old man was wrong. Pu, Bai Qingyu will be bestowed to you today as a place for your people to live and reproduce. Are you willing? Hearing this, how could Pu not know that this was Xiaohua's intention? He originally wanted to decline, but seeing that He Xiong had already declined, if he continued to decline, Xiaohua's face would not be good. Furthermore, he himself really wanted to find a place for his clansmen to settle down. So he knelt down without hesitation and said, "Bo thanks Teacher Xiao on behalf of my clansmen." Just as Po's words fell, all of Po's people on the lightning boat knelt down and cried, "This little one thanks Master Xiao. We will forever be loyal to Master Xiao. We will never betray him." Master! The Golden Condor and White Lion were dumbfounded. They didn't expect the Black Bear to not want to be a Beast King. Wouldn't that mean that one of the 3 Beast Kings was missing? They hurriedly wanted to say something, but Xiaohua smiled faintly and said, "From now on, the heaven-concealing ridge and ancient Bell Mountain will be my Fortune Gate's foundation. Your task is difficult. Don't tell me you want to decline." The Golden Condor and White Lion's hearts trembled, and they hurriedly answered, "We bear Master's heavy responsibility. We will do our best until our last breath." "Good." Xiaohua nodded and said, "Discuss this matter with His Highness Lan." "Yes." The 3 demonic beasts stood up and retreated to the side. Xiaohua looked at the 1,000 demonic sacred grounds that was as bright as day. Then he pointed in the direction of the hidden immortal mainland and said, pointing the sword at the hidden immortal mainland, "Whoever dares to block my army along the way, kill them all." "Yes, Master." All of the Fortune Gate's disciples stood up and shouted in unison. Then, the 2 lightning boats rumbled, and Pur and the others flew up to the lightning boats. On the lightning boat, His Highness Lan shouted in high spirits, "Fortune Gate's disciples, listen to my command. Set out, boom boom." The lightning boats flickered with lightning, competing with the starlight in the sky. On the lightning boat, His Highness Lan bowed and said, "Master, this disciple is going. And go, be careful on the way." Xiaohua nodded and smiled as he looked at the hundreds of thousands of Fortune Gate's disciples, Po's people, and some dragons and humans in an orderly manner, flying in the direction Xiaohua pointed out. After the disciples left, Xiaohua withdrew his avatar, leaving Zhai Xingzi and the others in the sky. At this time, Shoni flew over and asked in a low voice, "Master, why are you pointing to the east? That is not where my Soaring Dragon Mountain Range is located." "Ah, is it wrong?" Xiaohua smiled bitterly and said while rubbing his nose, "It's also the hidden immortal mainland. His Highness Lan can go as he pleases. He will definitely find the way back to the Soaring Dragon Mountain Range." "But Xiongyi said in a low voice, "That direction is where junior brother Changyu died. Heaven's will." Xiao Hua's eyes turned cold, and he said, "Those who dared to kill my Fortune Gate's disciples must pay the price." "Yes, this disciple understands." Xiongyi nodded and pointed at the several thousand golden core disciples in the distance and reported, "These are the 8,111 golden core disciples I brought from the soaring Dragon Mountain range." "Ah, why are there so many golden core disciples?" Xiaohua was a little surprised. After all, in his impression, the hidden immortal mainland's Tao Gate had withered. How could there be so many golden core disciples in the soaring Dragon Mountain range? "Good. Father understands." Xiongyi explained. After Master left, this disciple discussed with senior brother Li Xiang, junior brother Lan, and junior brother Changyu. "Our soaring Dragon Mountain range covers a large area, and there is abundant heaven and earth origin energy. Not to mention several tens of thousands of disciples, even hundreds of thousands of disciples can be accommodated. Therefore, the Fortune Gate's disciples regard recruiting disciples as the most important thing to do. Every year, disciples will be sent to villages and other places to look for children with excellent aptitudes. It's very strange, in these 100 years, the hidden immortal mainland's weather has changed greatly. The 9 prefectures often have disasters. There are many mediocre officials in the Confucian government, and there are many disaster victims everywhere. Wherever our Fortune Gate's disciples go, not only do we recruit disciples, we also take out enough good seeds to help the disaster victims cultivate. The villagers are all willing to give their children to our Fortune Gate. Moreover, the method Master left behind to select disciples is also very powerful. The so-called spiritual roots technique is very useful, as those who have spiritual roots are all very talented. Their cultivation speed is several times faster than the average disciple, so 200 years is enough for many disciples to step into the golden core realm. Xiongyi habitually waved his hand as he said, "Our soaring Dragon Mountain range, according to Master's custom before he left, recruits about 10,000 disciples every year. However, because of the recruitment of disciples, the transactions with the Luoyi Merchant Union, and the disciples going to other places in the hidden immortal mainland to recruit Foundation Establishment and Golden Core Realm disciples, the movement is quite big, attracting the attention of Confucian families and immortal palaces. In the past few decades, there are often Confucian cultivators coming to visit our soaring Dragon Mountain range, so this disciple and the others slowed down the expansion of the Fortune Gate. In the past 200 years, we have recruited a total of 1.6 million disciples. Not bad." Xiao Hua praised. "Your ability in this aspect is much stronger than Master's." Although he said so, Xiao Hua was clear in his heart that the Shenhua continent could not be compared to the 3 mainlands. The Shenhua continent was purely starting from scratch, and the number of humans in the 3 mainlands was absolutely terrifying. This was because the Tao Gate was suppressed by Confucian cultivators on the hidden immortal mainland. If there were no restrictions, with the Fortune Gate situation, it would not be a problem to recruit 100,000 disciples every year. Of course, it was precisely because the Tao Gate was not prosperous and the threshold for Confucian cultivators was too high that the Fortune Gate could casually recruit talented disciples on the hidden immortal mainland. Master doesn't know. There are too many disaster victims, and they are fighting to give their children to our Fortune Gate so that they can have food to eat. Xiongyi smiled bitterly. So in the end, this disciple and the others have already become a minor detail, and the distribution of grain seeds is the most important task. In the soaring Dragon Mountain range, there are many places where grain seeds are planted, and they have to be sent out every year. Not bad. Xiao Hua nodded again. Our Fortune Gate's mission is to save the world. We would rather not have disciples and not develop, but save the common people. Disciple, you have done well. Master, it's good that you say so. Xiongyi nodded. Then this disciple can rest assured. Oh. Xiao Hua asked curiously. Could it be that the 4 of you have different opinions? Hee, it's not convenient for this disciple to say. Master will know when you return to the Fortune Dao Palace. Xiongyi did not say much and only pointed out, this disciple's opinions are not quite the same, but all of us are thinking for our Fortune Gate. Xiao Hua nodded again. Xiongyi said proudly, but, Master, People often say that good people will be rewarded well. Although this disciple does not wish to recruit disciples, the disciples that our Fortune Gate recruits are all outstanding. Among the 1,600,000 disciples, there are more than 400,000 Foundation Establishment, Enlightened, and Fusion Stage disciples with first-grade Essence Force, 600,000 Heart Move disciples with second-grade Essence Force, and 500,000 Tranquil Spirit Stage disciples with second-grade Essence Force, 300,000 disciples with second-grade Essence Force. The composition of the Fortune Gates disciples is a little strange. Xiaohua laughed. I'm afraid this kind of situation can only happen in our Fortune Gate during this period. Chapter 44:21. Xiongyi nodded respectfully and said with a smile, indeed. Normally, when a Dao sect established a country, there would be a nascent soul imperial advisor or a golden core imperial advisor. Below them, there would be dozens of so-called disciples. Under these disciples, there would be dozens of disciples. Below these disciples, there would be hundreds of disciples. However, our Fortune Gates disciples do not have any bottlenecks at grade 1. From integrating with the Fortune Gate to the heart movement realm, everything is as smooth as flowing water. In the past, we also wanted our disciples to give pointers to the new disciples, but there was not much difference in their cultivation speed. In the end, we simply let our disciples give pointers to the new disciples for the first 10 years or so, and then, when their cultivation realm was high enough, we would recruit new disciples. In addition, we did not dare to recruit more disciples in recent decades, so now our Fortune Gates disciple structure is like a spindle, thin on both sides and thick in the middle. Many hard intent disciples who have reached grade 2 have no disciples. Xiaohua was used to the training and foundation building realms, so when he heard Xiongyi talk about foundation building, consecration, and fusion, he couldn't help but feel a little confused. Fortunately, when Xiongyi was explaining, he also mentioned the grade of his elemental energy, so he could at least understand. Xiaohua frowned and said, Disciple, didn't Master give you a new cultivation technique when I left? Those are the Qi refining and foundation establishment realms. Did you not teach them? Master. Xiongyi slapped his forehead and said, Disciple was a little confused. Disciple has followed Master's cultivation technique to the newly recruited disciples. Only the disciples who entered our Fortune Gate later use Master's modified cultivation technique. But because Disciple has been using foundation establishment, light illumination, and integration since young, Disciple can't help but lean towards that direction. It is easy to impart cultivation techniques, but changing one's mindset is really difficult. Xiaohua sighed. Disciple was wrong, but Master does not need to worry. Xiongyi smiled and said, Our Fortune Gates disciples use Qi refining and foundation establishment realms. Only Disciple can't change? Alright, go on. Xiaohua himself was not used to the hidden immortal mainland's cultivation system. Of course, he could not force Xiongyi and the others to correct it immediately. Yes, Master. Xiongyi continued, Before coming to the Thousand Demons sacred grounds, our Fortune Gate had over 23,000 Golden Core Realm disciples. Among them, 2,000 mid and late-stage Golden Core Realm disciples joined the Fortune Gate later. This includes this disciple, Senior Brother Li Xiang, and Martial Uncle Lan's disciples. Senior Brother Li Xiang stayed behind to guard the soaring Dragon Mountain range, leaving behind 5,000 Golden Core disciples. Junior Brother Lan, Junior Brother Changyu, and I have brought a total of 18,300 Golden Core disciples and 10,000 late-stage Foundation Establishment disciples to the Thousand Demons Sacred Realm. Along the way, we lost 50% of our disciples, and half of our Golden Core disciples and Foundation Establishment disciples. Oh? How come the number of Jindan disciples and Foundation Establishment disciples are equal? Xiaohua was somewhat puzzled, because according to common sense, it should be the Foundation Establishment disciples that were injured more. Xiongyi bit his lip and said, That's because core formation disciples have to protect Foundation Establishment disciples. When they encounter danger, they let Foundation Establishment disciples go first. What a good disciple. Xiaohua also sighed, deeply moved. Therefore, before the war, there were only 4,000 late-stage Foundation Establishment disciples and 10,221 Golden Core disciples left. Xiongyi continued, During the Great Battle, Although there were disciples led by Master, there were still many casualties. Most of them were Golden Core disciples. Those Foundation Establishment disciples didn't fly as fast as Golden Core disciples, so they didn't fight as much with the demons. Now, there are only 8,111 Golden Core disciples left? Xiao Hua asked. Xiongyi nodded. Yes, there are still 3,607 late-stage Foundation Establishment disciples. Good. Xiao Hua said, then turned to Black Bear and said, Black Bear, quickly catch up with the army and bring back the remaining Soaring Dragon Mountain Range disciples. Yes, Master. Black Bear's spirit didn't hesitate at all and urged the demonic cloud to chase after the army. Master was wrong. Xiao Hua sighed. These Foundation Establishment disciples also have the qualifications to enter the Star Moon Palace. But, Master, Xiongyi looked at the thousands of Golden Core disciples and said, Disciple only heard that there are very few cultivators who can enter the Star Moon Palace. We have over 10,000 disciples. How can we all enter the Star Moon Palace? Haha, it depends on fate. Xiao Hua laughed. If there is no fate, how can Master bring back 200,000 Fortune Gate disciples? Yes, disciple understands. Xiongyi had to explain even if he didn't understand. Go. Instruct the disciples that when the Foundation Establishment disciples return, Master will bring them into the Kunlun Immortal Realm to cultivate. Do not resist. Xiao Hua took out the Kunlun Mirror and instructed Xiongyi. Xiongyi naturally knew about the Kunlun Mirror. Didn't Yuan Ya and the others' cultivation soar after entering the Kunlun Mirror? He agreed and hurried off. Fellow Taoists. After Xiao Hua finished instructing, he looked at Zhai Xingzi and the others and said, I have a Kunlun Mirror here. There is a world inside that can cultivate. I will bring you all into the Kunlun Mirror and bring you all to the Star Moon Palace. Zhai Xingzi and the others naturally knew that once they entered the Kunlun Mirror, their lives would be in Xiao Hua's hands. But how could they not trust Xiao Hua? All of them nodded in agreement. Xiao Hua shook the Kunlun Mirror and sent them into the Shenhua continent. He then took Ao Zhantian, Su Tingzi, Yuanya, Dyer, Little Black, Little Yellow, and the others into the Kunlun Mirror. Not long after, the Black Bear spirit returned with several thousand Foundation Establishment Realm disciples. Xiao Hua took the Fortune Gate disciples, Xiongyi, the Black Bear spirit, and the others into the Kunlun Mirror. Only then did he look at the starry sky and land and flew towards the east of the Thousand Demons' sacred territory. The changes in the Thousand Demons' sacred territory were naturally caused by Feng Wu. After bidding farewell to Xiao Hua, Feng Wu flapped her wings and flew towards the Great Holy Hall. The golden-winged Great Rock, Flying Feather-Void Beast, and five-colored Sea God Shell followed behind her. The four demonic race great sages displayed their various abilities. In just a short moment, they had already flown tens of thousands of miles away. Seeing that they were gradually leaving by Qingyu, Feng Wu's eyes flashed like lightning. She swept her gaze across the land that was still in a mess and sneered in her heart. Wasn't Bai Qingyu, Shrouded Sky Ridge, and Ancient Bell Mountain the same case? Moreover, because of Bai Xian's selfish desires, she had triggered the divine punishment and implicated all the Shell race's bloodline in the Thousand Demons' sacred territory. From today onwards, although Bai Xian's influence still lingered, the arrogant and despotic Shell race might not be able to recover for a period of time. As for when they would be able to make a comeback, that would depend on the Little White Dragon and Bai Bo's abilities. Thinking about the Little White Dragon, Feng Wu couldn't help but laugh. Regardless of whether it was the human race or the demonic race, they all treated him as Xiao Hua. Whether it was the Soaring Dragon Mountain Range's Fortune Gate, the demonic race's Endless Merchant Union, or even Ao Zhantian, Zhai Xingzi, and the others, they all sacrificed a lot in order to rescue the Little White Dragon from Bai Qingyu. Little did they know that the Little White Dragon actually enjoyed the blessings of multiple people. There was no need for anyone to rescue him at all. That Beast King Bai Qing's daughter actually obediently stole him away. However, it was precisely because of the Little White Dragon's disappearance that Xiao Hua and the three demonic race great sages had to make a move. Damn it, the dragon race is really powerful. They're really attractive to ordinary female demonic race members. Feng Wu thought naturally in his heart. At this moment, he suddenly frowned as if he had thought of something. Just as he was about to speak, he saw a streak of golden light above his head. The golden-winged great rock had already flown past him and rushed towards the horizon. Ha ha! Fengwu laughed loudly. Does the great rock sage want to compete with this sage? If that's what the great rock sage wants, why don't we compete? The golden-winged great rock's voice came from afar. He laughed and said, "Let's see whose demonic body is stronger and whose flying speed is faster. The limit is 1 day." Behind Fengwu, the flying feather void beast shouted loudly, "If you go any further, I'm afraid we won't be able to catch up." "All right," Fengwu agreed. He flapped his wings and lightning crackled around his body. Beams of starlight and moonlight blasted into the great rock sage, and a string of illusory figures appeared out of thin air. Fengwu chased after the golden-winged great rock at lightning speed. Hee hee, the great rock sage is indeed extraordinary. In the sky, the golden-winged great rock laughed loudly and shouted proudly, "However, it won't be easy for you to catch up to this sage." As they spoke, the two demonic race great sages' figures disappeared at an extremely fast speed. The flying feather void beast and the five-colored sea god shell were naturally not slow, but the two saints were slightly inferior to the great rock sage and Fengwu. Layers of ripples rose rapidly in the air. Within the ripples, the two saints' figures were faintly discernible. Sometimes they were distorted abnormally, sometimes they returned to normal, but most of the time they were broken illusory figures. Similarly, in just a moment, the two saints' figures also disappeared. While flying, the five-colored sea god Shell heard the flying feather void beast's voice. "Shell Sage, what do you think of the seven-star Phoenix Sage?" "What do I think?" The five-colored sea god Shell's mouth was bitter. While urging his demonic body to continue flying, he replied indifferently, "What can this sage think? This Phoenix Sage has obtained the recognition of the 7 stars, so his strength must be far beyond ours. Didn't you see his battle with the Great Rock Sage? Even the Great Rock Sage was almost defeated by him. If the Great Rock Sage hadn't materialized his star mark at the critical moment, the position of the strongest demonic race would have changed hands." Speaking of this, the five-colored sea god Seashell looked at the distorted space in the distance with disappointment and said, "Fighting naturally requires strength. It may be a cultivation method, a secret technique, or a monster body. The Great Rock Sage has been a great saint for hundreds of thousands of years, and the time he spent in the Great Saint realm is only second to the profound Pentaceratops. As for the Phoenix Sage, not only has she just become a saint, she hasn't even entered the Great Saint Hall yet. How would we know about her opportunities? Also, the Great Rock Sage wants to compete in flying speed with the Phoenix Sage. I'm afraid he wants to compete in physical strength, right? Shell Sage, this sage's flying speed isn't my strong point. Who do you think is faster?" The flying feather void beast didn't hesitate at all, as if it had already guessed. It should be the Great Rock Sage. After all, his true form is the Great Rock Sage, and he's known as the demonic race's #1 flying beast. However, even so, this sage feels that the Phoenix Sage isn't too far behind. Chapter 44:22. "That's right. Saint Nai is right," said the pentacolored seashell. "The demon body is the #1 cultivation proof for the demon race. Saint Phoenix's demon body isn't inferior to Saint Ping's. Even if Saint Phoenix is defeated today, it's only a matter of time before he becomes the strongest of the demon race." The flying feather void beast smiled. "Who is the strongest of the demon race isn't something we should be concerned about. It should be a matter for the two great sages, Saint Phoenix and Saint Dragon. They've been fighting for so many years, and now there's a 7-star Saint Phoenix. Haha, the Great Sage Hall is getting more and more lively." AI, the pentacolored seashell sighed. "That's right. There's going to be a great change in the 1,000-demon sacred realm. I wonder if there'll be an even greater bloodbath." "That depends on Saint Phoenix's ambition." The flying feather void beast smiled. "He only needs half of Saint Dragon's ambition. That's unlikely." The pentacolored seashell replied absent-mindedly. "From the situation in Bai Qingyu, Veiled Sky Ridge, and Ancient Bell Mountain today, Saint Phoenix's heart doesn't seem to be here. That's right. That's what this saint finds most strange. The flying feather void beast smiled. However, that was all he said. He paused for a moment and waited for the pentacolored seashell to continue. Unfortunately, the pentacolored seashell was preoccupied and didn't ask. The flying feather void beast thought for a moment and took the opportunity to ask, Saint Shell, you just said that the demon body is the #1 cultivation proof for the demon race. That seems a bit lacking, no? The five-colored sea god Bay was startled when he heard this. He asked indifferently, What do you mean, Saint and I? Hee, from what this saint knows, bloodline should be the #1 cultivation proof for the demon race, right? The flying feather void beast smiled. His words were full of meaning. The pentacolored seashell smiled. There's a saying in the human race that the benevolent see benevolence and the wise see wisdom. I'm afraid that's what it means. Perhaps Saint and I is right, perhaps this saint is right, or perhaps you and I are both right. Seeing that the pentacolored seashell didn't answer directly, the flying feather void beast's eyes turned. Earlier, the five-colored sea god shell had said that its bloodline had been taken away. The flying feather void beast was both shocked and confused. He was proficient in bloodline techniques, so he was naturally aware that ordinary bloodlines couldn't be stripped away. Even though Xiao Hua was a Grand Ascension stage human cultivator, he didn't possess any powerful abilities. Therefore, he didn't believe the five-colored sea god seashell's words at all. He felt that the five-colored sea god seashell was trying to cover up something. Moreover, the seven-colored seashell's shell had been shattered by Xiao Hua. If the five-colored seashell's bloodline had really been taken away, then the seven-colored seashell's bloodline could naturally be taken away as well. In that case, the situation of the entire Thousand Devil Sacred Realm would fundamentally change. For the sake of the future arrangements, the flying feather void beast had to clarify the matter of the bloodline and how Xiao Hua had defeated the old ancestor. The flying feather void beast pondered the situation for a moment before asking, By the way, Saint Bei, why did a streak of light suddenly appear after that Grand Ascension stage human cultivator was trapped by the old ancestor? Not only did the light disappear from the old ancestor's body, but even more light from the Thousand Devil Sacred Realm fell into the light. And as the light began to flow, the phenomena created by the old ancestor's attacks gradually disappeared. The old ancestor's bonded shell was destroyed, and in the end, the Grand Ascension stage human cultivator managed to break free, but I wasn't able to identify what method he used in the end. Can you answer my question, Saint Bei? The five-colored sea god shell faltered slightly upon hearing this, and it glanced at the flying feather void beast with a hint of hesitation in its heart. Earlier, it had revealed that its bloodline had been taken away, and it had regretted it ever since. After hearing the flying feather void beast's probing, it made a slight mental calculation before replying in a wary manner. That's the old ancestor's business. How would I know if she didn't tell me? Hee. The flying feather void beast wasn't surprised by the five-colored sea god shell's answer in the slightest, and it continued in a seemingly nonchalant manner. By the way, I seem to have seen an ancient record in the Great Holy Hall about 70,000 years ago, right? The five-colored sea god shell asked in a cold voice. What do you mean by that, Saint and I? It's nothing. The flying feather void beast hurriedly chuckled. After all, the five-colored light is Saint Bei's bonded ability, and even Saint Peng has praised it in the past. The sudden disappearance of the five-colored light has given me some ideas about the origins of that Grand Ascension stage human cultivator and Saint Phoenix, so I wanted to have a chat with Saint Bei. Oh? What do you mean, Saint and I? The five-colored sea god shell was rather perplexed. What's wrong with their origins? Of course it's wrong. The flying feather void beast wasn't surprised at all by the five-colored sea god shell's lack of response, and it smiled as it said, If it were just a human Grand Ascension stage human cultivator, I wouldn't think too much about it. We didn't know that there was such a human cultivator on the hidden immortal continent, so it's normal that we didn't know about it. However, don't forget that this human Grand Ascension stage human cultivator is a Taoist cultivator. All of the Confucian cultivators on the hidden immortal continent view the Taoist sects as venomous snakes and scorpions. How could there be a human Grand Ascension stage human cultivator on the hidden immortal continent? As far as I can remember, Aside from the primordial chaos patriarch who stirred up chaos on the 3 continents, there doesn't seem to be any Taoist cultivator capable of such feats. That's true. The 5-colored sea god shell nodded in response. I've already thought of that when I saw that human Grand Ascension stage human cultivator. The 5-colored sea god shell shuddered as it spoke, and it hurriedly exclaimed, "There seems to be more than one human Grand Ascension stage human cultivator, right?" At the time, there were 36 human Grand Ascension stage human cultivators who had besieged St. Peng. That's right. The flying feather void beast couldn't help but scoff at the 5-colored sea god shell's lack of awareness. However, it was quite happy to have such a slow-witted great sage as its ally. After all, this pig-like ally had a godlike patriarch backing it up. No, that's not all. The 5-colored sea god seashell immediately thought of something else and exclaimed, "That skinny guy has a desolate aura on him. He's also a 9th-grade essence force. That strange cultivator who fought me possesses bloodline power and spatial power, and he's also at the 9th grade of origin force. What the F***CK is going on the 3 continents? Why are there so many supreme cultivators appearing all of a sudden? Could it be that 9th grade origin force cultivators aren't worth anything anymore?" Also, the flying feather void beast continued in a cold voice, "After the patriarch's body was destroyed, there was a massive barrier of light to our left. After the barrier was destroyed, a devilish lord appeared, and his aura is even more powerful than the Pentaceratops. Oh, and there's also that so-called Wenxing. They're all at the mid-9th grade of origin force, and some of them are even at the high grade. I'm afraid that the old ancestor was defeated under their joint attack." Clear light flashed through the flying feather void beast's eyes as it spoke, and the 5-colored sea god shell's body faintly appeared within the light. The flying feather void beast wanted to carefully inspect the 5-colored sea god shell's reaction. Unfortunately, the flying feather void beast was destined to be disappointed as the 5-colored sea god shell didn't show any signs of abnormality. The flying feather void beast replied, "Even a few 9th grade origin force cultivators wouldn't be able to defeat the patriarch. I know her, Barrier the best. Have you forgotten, Sage Bay? Those 36 human Grand Ascension stage beings." The flying feather void beast said coldly, "They suddenly disappeared when the first Grand Ascension stage human appeared." So what if they disappeared? The Kunlun mirror can't be used within the patriarch's barrier. The 5-colored sea god shell said with disdain. Then how do you think the patriarch was defeated, Sage Bay? The flying feather void beast asked with a smile as it led the 5-colored sea god shell into its trap step by step. The 5-colored sea god shell stammered, I'm afraid only the patriarch knows." Of course, if the patriarch doesn't tell us how she was defeated, we wouldn't know either. The flying feather void beast said with a smile. Furthermore, Sage Phone wasn't within the barrier at the time, so he might not know. However, if I were to guess, an opponent even more powerful than the patriarch appeared, right? More powerful than the patriarch? The 5-colored sea god shell's heart stirred, and it said, "The most powerful beings on the 3 continents are us. The patriarch has a secret technique, so she's different from us. How could she have? See, Sage and I, are you saying that this human Grand Ascension stage being also has a secret technique? How could a human like him possibly have such a secret technique?" It's impossible for a human to have such a secret technique. But what about other races? The flying feather void beast said with a smile, "Can't other races exist in this human's body?" The 5-colored sea god shell's imagination ran wild, and it cried out, "You're saying that there's a race as mysterious as the patriarch in the human's body? It's unlikely that it's in the human's body." The flying feather void beast said with a smile, "After all, the human's body is weak, and a powerful race can't exist in the human's body for a long time. If it's possible, it should be the Kunlun mirror." Impossible. The 5-colored sea god shell habitually denied it, but after saying it, he was dumbfounded and slapped himself in the face. Oh, yes. If there's a mysterious being more powerful than the patriarch, wouldn't he be able to come out of the Kunlun mirror? Mysterious being? The flying feather void beast heard the 5-colored sea god shell changed the word race to mysterious being, and it sneered in its heart. It knew that the five-colored sea god shell had already fallen into its trap, so it went along with the five-colored sea god shell's words. Yes, mysterious being. I once read an ancient record in the Great Sage Palace. It was about a demon called Jinxiu, and the entire demon race was wiped out by a mysterious being. Speaking of this, the flying feather void beast looked at Qingguang again. Sure enough, although the five-colored sea god shell didn't move, the space around it rippled. The ripple was very weak, but it was still detected by the flying feather void beast, who was proficient in the power of space. Chapter 44:23. Zhen and I? As if trying to hide its emotions, the five-colored sea god seashell responded, and the ripples in space disappeared. It then fell into deep thought, and after a moment, said hesitantly, I seem to have heard of it before. It seems to be an extremely powerful demon beast from ancient times, proficient in the power of space. That's right. The flying feather void beast sneered coldly in his heart, but on the surface, he flattered. Sage Bei is indeed knowledgeable. This Shen Yu is an ancient record that this sage has searched for a long time before finding. I didn't expect Sage Bei to be so familiar with it. I wouldn't dare. I've only heard the ancestor mention it occasionally. The five-colored sea god seashell really did have some recollection of it after hearing the flying feather void beast's words. I don't remember the details. To tell you the truth, when I became a great saint, I saw a strange monster in the sea of stars. It rejected my ascension to the great saint realm, and it felt like it was similar to my original name, the winged void beast said. So, after I became a great saint, I searched through the ancient records of the great holy temple in an attempt to find the origin of this unknown great saint. Only then did I find the legend of Zhen and I in the ancient records. According to the records, Zhen and I was extremely powerful. Not only was its physical body comparable to metal and stone, but it could also control space as it wished. His abilities far surpassed my flying feather void beast. Saint Bei, think about it. When I saw a demon that was so similar to my ability and even more powerful than mine, how could I not trace its origin? How could I not find out why this powerful demon had disappeared for no reason? When this sage took a look, it was nothing serious, but it really gave me a shock. The flying feather and eye void beast sent a voice transmission with some lingering fear. The records clearly state that one day, the Zhenyong Grand Sage fought with another demon for some unknown reason. That demon was no match for the Zhenyong Grand Sage, and was almost killed by the Zhenyong Grand Sage. However, the strange thing was that the Fae that was about to die suddenly transformed into a strange existence. This existence's appearance and true form could not be seen with the naked eye or with one's essence perception. Furthermore, the weather in the entire Thousand Fae sacred realm changed drastically. The clear sky turned into dark clouds as spatial vortexes filled the sky. That being used some unknown abhijna, and the Zhenxiong Grand Sage's physical body instantly withered. Furthermore, the blood-red light around his body flowed and turned into tiny fragments that fell into the hands of that being. Not only that, but the situation after that was similar to today. After the Zhenxiong Grand Sage's bloodlight dissipated into nothingness, the entire Thousand Demons' sacred realm was suffused with bloodlight. Countless amounts of bloodlight gathered in the hands of this being. At this point, the flying feather void beast stopped, and the five-colored sea god shell asked, and then? After that, the Zhenyong Grand Sage disappeared, and so did that entity. The Zhenxiong lineage lost their spatial abhijna and gradually disappeared from the Thousand Demons' sacred realm. The flying feather void beast's voice sounded distant, as if the Zhenxiong lineage had disappeared. Phew! The five-colored sea god shell heaved a sigh of relief and laughed. Thank you for your reminder, Saint and I. However, the Zhenxiong Grand Sage's blood essence was probably absorbed by that being. The entire Zhenxiong lineage in the Thousand Demons' sacred realm seemed to have their blood essence sucked as well. It was different from today. Then, what was absorbed by the human Mahayana lineage today? The flying feather void beast seemed to ask casually. This time, the five-colored sea god shell did not answer directly. Instead, it paused for a moment before saying, This, You don't have to worry about it, Saint and I. Haha, it's all right, Saint Bay. No matter what it is, I won't mention it again. The flying feather-void beast saw the five-colored sea god shell's denial and already had a plan in its mind. It laughed. What I want to say is that you must have lost something, right? Also, the five-colored sea god shell lineage must have lost something similar, right? The five-colored sea god shell did not answer. It was actually very dejected. It could not afford to pursue this matter. There were many descendants of the shell race in the Thousand Demons sacred realm, so how could it not be leaked? Furthermore, it had mentioned it in a moment of absent-mindedness. Since Saint Bay isn't answering, I'll take it as a yes. The flying feather-void beast finally voiced its conjecture. In other words, the being our ancestor encountered today is as terrifying as the being from before. Think about it. Does this human Mahayana lineage have the qualifications to do so? The seven-star Phoenix Sage said that he became a great sage in the Kunlun mirror of the human Mahayana lineage. What does that mean? It means that the terrifying being is in the Kunlun mirror of the human Mahayana lineage. Oh, Saint Bay, do you know the primordial chaos ancestor of the Taoist sect? I do. What about it? The five-colored sea god shell was completely unable to follow the flying feather-void beast's train of thought. The primordial chaos ancestor was suppressed by the yin-yang illustration by the Confucian and Buddhist cultivators, and they wanted to use the illustration to kill him. However, the primordial chaos ancestor found a way to refine the yin-yang illustration, and it's said that he attached his nascent soul to it. As long as the treasure isn't destroyed, he won't die. Do you think that the mysterious being in the Kunlun mirror also attached his nascent soul to the Kunlun immortal realm and used it to achieve immortality? Damn it, how am I supposed to know? The five-colored sea god shell was confused by the flying feather-void beast's words. Saint and I, what are you trying to say? What I mean is, the flying feather-void beast smiled mysteriously and transmitted its voice. That human Mahayana lineage is just a cover. He's no match for our ancestor. In other words, those Mahayana lineages, the seven-star Phoenix Sage, Wenchu, and the others are all subordinates of that mysterious being hiding in the Kunlun mirror. They're even like demon pets. Hiss. The five-colored sea god seashell turned pale with fright. He took a deep breath and stopped moving. His entire monster body appeared in the void as he shouted, "How? How is this possible?" After a short while, the flying feather-void beast flew back from the distance, and it looked at the five-colored sea god shell with a smile. Most humans and demons on the three continents think that the most powerful being in the thousand-demon holy realm is the golden-winged Great Pong. But what about the truth? The six of us have more or less received guidance from our ancestor. If she doesn't care about fame and fortune, wouldn't she be just like that mysterious being? The five-colored sea god shell was silent for a long while before it finally muttered. I originally thought that the seven-star Phoenix Sage and Wenchu might be the clones of that human Mahayana lineage, but I didn't think that Saint Ni's thoughts would be even more incredible. Saint Ni's thoughts are even more incredible. The flying feather-void beast said with disdain, the Taoist sect does have cloning techniques, but it's not like we don't have them either. Saint and I, don't tell me you haven't cultivated clones. But think about it. Can you create so many clones? Furthermore, each clone is different. Some are Confucian cultivators, some are demonic cultivators, and there's even a devilish lord? Besides, how can clones be more powerful than the true body? Which clone isn't at a lower level of power? If you were to say that the dragon that was sealed was the clone of that human Mahayana lineage, then that would make sense. That's true. The five-colored sea god shell nodded before flying away again. Behind him, the flying feather-void beast asked, Ancestor, do you have any instructions for Saint Bay? The five-colored sea god shell hesitated momentarily before replying. Our ancestor didn't say much. She only told me to follow her instructions. That's right. The flying feather-void beast nodded. Our ancestor's bonded shell has been shattered, but think about it. When she was speaking to that human Mahayana lineage, she didn't sound very respectful at all. That's right. The five-colored sea god shell hurriedly replied, You're right, Saint and I. Our ancestor didn't dare to say anything as she was afraid that we would offend that mysterious being. The flying feather void beast looked at the five-colored sea god shell with a meaningful expression. In that case, you should understand why I'm being so long-winded, right? The five-colored sea god shell was a little dejected. I've lost some of my abilities, and I don't have any desire to win anymore. I have no intention of getting involved in the matters of the golden-winged great Pong, the arcane pentaceratops, and the heaven-defying lightning phoenix. The flying feather void beast was a little exasperated, and it said, "That's part of the reason, Saint and I. The most important thing is still the Dragon Island or the Great Holy Hall. You have to decide which one you want to choose." The five-colored sea god shell was truly perplexed, and it turned to the flying feather void beast with a perplexed expression. "Of course I'm going to choose the Great Holy Hall. What's the difference between the Dragon Island and the Great Holy Hall?" "Motherfucker." The flying feather void beast cursed internally. If it weren't for the ancestor, how could that bastard have become a great sage? With that brain of his. Oh, that's right. The five-colored sea god shell doesn't have a brain. The flying feather void beast could only curse internally. He still needed to form an alliance with the five-colored sea god shell, and he didn't dare to offend Bei-Sien, so he patiently said, "There's something strange about what happened today. The matter of suppressing the human Grand Ascension stage avatar was the ancestor's idea, and I also know a little about it, but Saint Peng doesn't. The sky-obscuring ridge is being used by other demon races. Don't you think that the demon race we don't know about is plotting something?" "I don't quite understand." The five-colored sea god shell nodded. "Apart from the golden-winged great Pong, it's most likely the arcane pentaceratops that want to obtain information about the dragon race. Those two great sages can both ascend by devouring dragons. From there, they can shatter the heavens. If the golden-winged great Pong wasn't putting on a show today, then the arcane pentaceratops must be behind this. What does this have to do with the Dragon Island? If it were that simple, how could the arcane pentaceratops still be the arcane pentaceratops?" The flying feather void beast said earnestly, "The dragon sage and the rock sage have always been at loggerheads, neither willing to give in to the other. Even if the dragon sage wanted to do something, he wouldn't be so obvious. He'd definitely use other channels and wouldn't let us see any clues. So it can only be the Dragon Island." Chapter 44-24. What does this have to do with Dragon Island? The five-colored sea god seashell asked. "You have the favor of the patriarch, so there's no need for you to think too much about this." The flying feather void beast sighed. "However, I can't do that. The 9 elders of the 10 races of Dragon Island are all very conflicted. On top of that, Dragon Island seems to be unable to control the Dragon Palace. 200 years ago, a Dragon Master appeared on Dragon Island out of thin air. Will this Dragon Master be able to convince everyone? All of this could point the spearhead at the dragon that Peng Jun wants to interrogate. Even so, why should we choose between Dragon Island and the Great Holy Hall? The Pentaceratops has always been at odds with the Dragon Island and refused to obey the orders of the Dragon Island. Now that the Dragon Island has extended their claws into the Great Holy Palace and even set a trap for the Pentaceratops, do you think the Pentaceratops can do anything about it?" The flying feather void beast mocked. On top of that, the Golden Rock was taught a lesson by that human Grand Ascension stage being. What can it do? The Seven-Star Phoenix is an old friend of that human Grand Ascension stage being. What can it do? Hiss. The five-colored sea god seashell was even more astonished. "You're right, Saint and I. If the Pentagram Dragon and the Golden Rock are on the same side, then our Great Holy Hall and Dragon Island will really have to go to war." "Of course not. Our Great Holy Hall has 7 great holy sages. Sparrow Saint and Spider Saint may not be willing." The flying feather void beast chuckled. "Of course, we'll need Saint Bei's support. There's a mysterious being behind the 7-Star Phoenix. What choice do we have?" The five-colored sea god seashell countered. "Indeed, Saint Bei, I, and the Patriarch know about this mysterious being." The flying feather void beast said in a mysterious manner. "The other great holy sages don't know. Then, what if the Dragon Sage and Dragon Island aren't on the same side as Saint and I? Haha, then Saint Bei should know what choice he should make." The five-colored sea god seashell void beast chuckled. The flying feather void beast laughed and said, "Otherwise, this saint would have wasted my breath talking so much." If that's the case, hearing this, the five-colored sea god seashell suddenly felt enlightened. He said telepathically, "The competition between the rock sage and the phoenix sage won't be that simple, right? Take a guess?" The flying feather void beast smiled and flew into the distance. The five-colored sea god seashell shook his head with a wry smile. He also flew into the air, but without the five-colored halo, he was much slower. Since even the five-colored seashell had vaguely guessed the golden-winged rock's intention, how could Feng Wu not know? After flying over countless mountains in a single day and frightening countless great demons, the sun gradually set and colorful clouds filled the sky. The Phoenix Parasol General spread his wings and began to slow down. Sure enough, as soon as Phoenix Wu slowed down, the voice of the golden-winged great rock sounded, "Phoenix Sage, the one-day limit is not up yet. Why aren't you flying?" Feng Wu smiled and said, "This saint's specialty isn't flying. How can I possibly be Rock Saint's match? It's fine if we just spar like this, but why must we decide the victor?" The golden-winged great rock's flying figure also slowly came to a stop. When Feng Wu flew closer, he said, "Phoenix Sage, you're too modest." These words really make this saint feel ashamed. Flying is not Phoenix Sage's specialty, but this saint hasn't surpassed you by much in just one day. How can this saint still have the face to claim the title of the first great saint of the demon race? Haha. Feng Wu laughed. "Don't worry, Rock Saint. This saint has no interest in being the first great saint at all. Furthermore, at this point, could it be that you still care about this empty title in your heart? Phoenix Sage, you really don't care about the title of the first great saint?" The golden-winged great rock was slightly taken aback and asked curiously. Feng Wu nodded solemnly. "This saint is speaking from the bottom of my heart." Sigh. The golden-winged great rock sighed. "If this saint had the same temperament as Phoenix Sage when I first became a great saint, why would I have to wait until today to break through the bottleneck?" "You're wrong, Rock Saint." Feng Wu smiled. "If it weren't for the unyielding spirit of the past, I wouldn't have broken through the bottleneck today. If I hadn't taken one step at a time, how could I have reached my goal with such difficulty?" That's what that human grand ascension stage cultivator often says, right? The golden-winged great rock asked in a probing manner. Feng Wu nodded. "You're right, Rock Saint. I've benefited greatly from following fellow Taoist Xiao. I'm extremely envious that you have such a good friend, Phoenix Sage." The golden-winged great rock seemed to be implying something as he spoke. Feng Wu smiled. "Fellow Taoist Xiao is an approachable cultivator. If Rock Saint wants to, you can gather some information about his past. You'll be able to draw your own conclusions from this information, so there's no need for me to say anything. On top of that, if Rock Saint wants to, I can also introduce you to Taoist Xiao." Getting to know Taoist Xiao? I feel like it's a bit of a stretch. After all, I had a battle with him today, and it almost ended in a battle of life and death. The golden-winged great rock's tone was somewhat lacking in confidence. "I just want Phoenix Sage to sound out Taoist Xiao and see if he believes me." "You're wrong, Rock Saint." Feng Wu raised an eyebrow, and the sound of wind and thunder rang out from his wings. There's a saying in the human race that no discord, no concord. Didn't I have a battle with Rock Saint? Phoenix Sage is a demon, while Taoist Xiao is a human. This is different. The golden-winged great rock smiled bitterly. Humans are the most petty and vengeful of all. I don't dare to believe him. Time will reveal a person's heart. Feng Wu smiled. In the future, Rock Saint will naturally know what kind of cultivator Taoist Xiao is. Oh, of course, that's if you have the time. Actually, the golden-winged great rock hesitated. "I have to thank Taoist Xiao for being able to break through my bottleneck today, but I'm afraid that Taoist Xiao will misunderstand, so I don't dare to say too much." Feng Wu naturally knew what Xiao Hua's impression of the first great saint of the demon race was, so he smiled. "Don't worry, Rock Saint. Taoist Xiao should believe your words. Otherwise, why would he let you go?" Humph. The golden-winged great pung bird harumphed coldly upon hearing that Xiao Hua intended to let it go. "If I want to leave, Not even the patriarch can do anything about it. Even though Daoist Xiao is a grand ascension stage human cultivator, he's not confident in being able to keep me here, is he? Feng Wu smiled. That's true. Rock Saint's movement technique is #1 in the demon race. Daoist Xiao really might not be able to catch up to you. Haha, not necessarily, not necessarily. The golden-winged great rock realized his attitude was inappropriate and hurriedly shook his head. Daoist cultivators have many tricks up their sleeves. Perhaps Daoist Xiao has some powerful movement technique. Feng Wu smiled and scanned behind him with his essence sense, but didn't see the 5-colored seashell or the flying feather void beast. He thought for a moment and said, Rock Saint, since you didn't send a message to Peng Jun of Shrouding Sky Ridge, who do you think it was? This. The golden-winged great rock hesitated. Feng Wu hurriedly said, Don't worry, Rock Saint. This is just a casual chat between us. I know you don't have any idea, or you would have told Daoist Xiao. Why are you covering for someone else? AI. The golden-winged great rock sighed. Actually, I already have a rough idea of who it is. I have a rough idea of who's behind this, but if I hadn't broken through my bottleneck and broken through to the void-shattering realm, and if you weren't a 7-star great saint, the Great Holy Hall would have most likely revered you in the future. The safety of the Great Holy Hall and the 1,000 demons sacred realm would have fallen on your shoulders. I wouldn't have told you. Oh, is it that serious? Feng Wu was also stunned and asked in confusion. Of course. The golden-winged great Peng's voice was filled with authority as he replied. To think that a demonic beast would use this saint to give orders. This clearly shows that they don't respect this saint or the great holy temple. These demonic beasts have ulterior motives. What they want to do is beneficial to the 1,000 demons sacred realm. What do you mean, Rock Sage? Feng Wu seemed to understand something. That's right. If I'm not mistaken, it should be the Pentaceratops dragon's doing. The golden-winged great rock said firmly. Feng Wu smiled and looked at the golden-winged great rock. Didn't you just say you weren't sure? Why are you so sure now? Of the 6 great saints of the Great Holy Hall, only I and the Pentaceratops dragon would covet the dragon. Since it wasn't me, then, it could only be the Pentaceratops dragon. Seeing that Feng Wu didn't believe him, the golden-winged great rock's tone became colder. He said unhappily, Besides, he's been coveting my position as the first great saint of the demon race for a long time. In the entire demon race, he's the only one who dares to do something behind my back. Of course it's him. Also, the golden-winged great rock hesitated, then added, According to what I know, the Pentaceratops dragon seems to be in contact with some elders of Dragon Island. Otherwise, he wouldn't know about Daoist Zhao's relationship with the dragon race. Do you have any evidence, Rock Sage? Feng Wu asked with a smile. The golden-winged great rock stiffened and said coldly, My words are evidence. If you don't believe me, then so be it. In fact, if I hadn't broken through, I definitely wouldn't have said what I said today. I also wouldn't have schemed to find a chance to be alone with you. After all, a human Mahayana stage is only a human Mahayana stage, even if you're stronger than me. So what? As for inviting you, that's because I respect you as a great saint of the demon race. I also want to borrow your power to restrain the Pentaceratops dragon. As for other thoughts, I don't have them. Chapter 44-25. Seeing the golden-winged great Peng bird speak directly like Peng Jun, Feng Wu also secretly felt respect for it. Although the strength of the golden-winged rock was there and there was no need to hide it, this was also related to the nature of the golden-winged rock. In fact, when Xiao Hua learned that the little white dragon had been suppressed by Bai Qingyu, he had discussed this matter with Feng Wu and the other clones. All of them felt that this matter might not necessarily have anything to do with the 6 great sages of the Great Sage Hall. After all, Xiao Hua's strength was only at the 5th or 6th level of origin energy. He was not even comparable to Bai Qingyu, so how could he possibly fall into the eyes of the great sages of the demon race? However, the appearance of the golden-winged great Peng, the flying feather void beast, and the 5-colored sea god shell in Bai Qingyu was out of Xiao Hua and Feng Wu's expectations. However, from the mouths of the 3 great saints, They heard something fishy and knew that they might have been deceived by the Monster King. However, at that time, all the explanations and speculations would be useless. Only by fighting and determining the victor would they have the right to speak. Therefore, when victory was within their grasp, whether it was Xiao Hua or Feng Wu, they more or less had compassion in their hearts and did not truly beat the three great saints to death. Especially later, when Xiao Hua revealed a portion of his strength, the three great saints saw Xiao Hua's sincerity. Although the three great saints didn't say anything, when they fought, they still left some leeway. Because at such a supreme realm, who would really risk their lives if there wasn't a great enmity between them? Not to mention that everyone had already realized that something was wrong. At that time, the fight was more about face. Because of this, when Xiao Hua was sucked into the Great Rainbow Shell realm by Bei Xian, Feng Wu pulled the three great sages out of this matter. She stopped them and began to talk about romance. The three great sages naturally knew what Feng Wu was thinking. This was also the reason why the golden-winged Great Rock had invited Feng Wu after part of the truth had been revealed. Because he already knew that Feng Wu was the great sage of the demon race. Even though Feng Wu had a very close relationship with Xiao Hua, Feng Wu accepted the invitation with ease because he knew very well that even the three great saints didn't have the strength to make things difficult for him. The three great saints definitely wouldn't make things difficult for him because of Bai Qingyu. However, after seeing the rare humble attitude of the golden-winged Great Rock and what he said just now, Feng Wu suddenly understood that Bai Qingyu's matter might be very small and not worth the attention of the great sage of the Great Sage Temple, but this matter had caused a lot of trouble, and the power behind it had a lot to plan. This plan had originally been hidden under the Ice River, but Bai Qingyu's matter had exposed it all at once. Furthermore, the power of the Great Sage Hall's 6 great sages was balanced. Suddenly, the golden-winged Great Peng broke through the bottleneck and became a great saint himself. In an instant, the balance between the entire Great Sage Temple and the Thousand Demons' sacred realm was broken. In particular, his strength had suppressed the ambitious mystic armored Pentaceratops. If the Thousand Demons' sacred realm wanted to reach a new equilibrium, it would be impossible without some turbulence. Thinking of this, Feng Wu smiled and said to the golden-winged Great Peng, "Sage Peng, I understand what you mean. However, I've already said that I won't interfere in any of the Great Sage Temple's affairs, and I won't allow any power to interfere in the Thousand Demons' sacred realm. Therefore, I'm afraid your hopes will be dashed." The golden-winged Great Peng sneered. When the mystic armored Pentaceratops became a great saint, I happened to pass by. The mystic armored Pentaceratops was afraid that I would disturb his celestial worship, so he swore many things in front of me and almost swore a demon oath. With my character, how could I possibly stop the birth of a great saint of the demon race? I didn't pay any attention to him and even stood guard for him. But what happened in the end? He didn't fulfill a single word of his and even frequently caused trouble for me. How could he still be the mystic armored Pentaceratops of that day? Moreover, if you don't want to establish your power in the Thousand Demons' sacred realm, why did that human Mahayana realm take Bai Qingyu, heaven-obscuring ridge, and ancient Bell Mountain for himself? Why would a human Mahayana realm cultivator want territory in the Thousand Demons' sacred realm? Feng Wu waved a hand with a faint smile and said, "There's a saying in the human race that distance tests a horse's strength, and time reveals a person's heart. You can just wait and see what I think in the future, Sage Peng. I won't agree to what you just said, Sage Peng. I won't interfere in the karma of the Great Sage Temple." Hee. The golden-winged Great Peng chuckled coldly, "Seeing as you've already become a great saint, you've already been tainted by the karma of the Great Sage Temple. Just like today, I had no relationship with that human Mahayana realm cultivator, but I was still dragged into this mess. To be honest, if it weren't for the fact that that human Mahayana realm cultivator had a good character, Sage and I, Sage Bei, and I would have been severely injured even if we didn't lose a grade. This is also why I wanted to befriend that human Mahayana realm cultivator." A thought seemed to have occurred to the golden-winged Great Peng at this point, and he stiffened his neck as he said, "This isn't me admitting defeat. If he wants to fight me, then you can help me accept it." "Haha." Feng Wu laughed heartily as he flapped his wings and said, Sage Peng, you really are an interesting demon. Compared to the craftiness of Sage and Sage Bei, I think Taoist Xiao would be more willing to befriend you. How crafty can Sage Bei be? The golden-winged Great Peng chuckled coldly. He doesn't even have a brain. Feng Wu could tell from Bai Qing's confusion. On top of that, Sage and is inferior to the Pentaceratops. Feng Wu naturally couldn't take the golden-winged Great Peng's words at face value, but he still said, that's true. Among our demon race, it seems that the dragon race is the most crafty. From the ordinary dragon race to the dragon kings of the 4 seas, then to the 9 elders of the dragon palace. In the future, if anyone dares to call foxes cunning in front of me, I'll break their nose. In the face of dragons, foxes are like 3-year-old toddlers. Haha, that's right, that's right. Although Feng Wu didn't mention the Pentaceratops, the golden-winged Great Peng felt the same way. He laughed heartily and flapped his wings, causing a gust of wind to blow within 100 miles. He looked at Feng Wu with a much friendlier expression. After the golden-winged Great Peng finished laughing, Feng Wu said seriously, Sage Peng, if we want to find the so-called mastermind, we might as well think about it and start from the nearest place. Oh? What do you mean, Sage Peng? The golden-winged Great Peng was straightforward. At this moment, he almost treated Feng Wu as an old friend and asked curiously. Feng Wu thought for a moment and asked, Sage Peng, I have a question for you. Please speak, Sage Peng. The golden-winged Great Peng nodded and replied, in the words of the human race, I'll tell you everything I know. I want to know why Sage Peng, Sage and Sage Bei came to Bai Qingyu. I remember that Sage Peng didn't come because of Peng Jun's message, right? Since it wasn't arranged in advance, how did Sage Peng get here in time? Feng Wu's phoenix eyes flashed as she asked the golden-winged Great Peng. Hee, so that's the problem. The golden-winged Great Peng laughed. When I first came to Bai Qingyu, I also thought about it. However, it seems that coming to Bai Qingyu has nothing to do with the Pentaceratops. I'm afraid it's Sage Ni's little scheme. Oh? What do you mean? Feng Wu raised her eyebrows and asked. Then the rock sage explained everything in detail. Only then did Feng Wu understand. It turned out that Feng Wu had become a great saint in the South Sea Dragon Palace's Great Array and had triggered a change in the starry sky of the 1,000 Demons' sacred realm. The golden-winged rock and the other great saints of the demon race all flew out of their cultivation grounds and headed towards the great sage temple. They were all prepared to welcome the new great saint there. However, because Heavenly Phoenix had destroyed the star bridge leading to the great sage hall, Feng Wu didn't go. Therefore, the 6 great sages waited in vain at the great sage hall. The 6 great sages didn't gather often, so they took this opportunity to stay in the great sage hall for a while. During this time, the golden-winged Great Peng received a message from Tsang Yuetian, saying that there were changes in the 3 demon territories in the far north. After reading the message, the golden-winged Great Peng discussed with the other 5 great sages and invited the scarlet flame vermilion bird to the far north to take a look. At the same time, the flying feather void beast also received a message. He invited the 5-colored sea god shell and the golden-winged Great Peng to come to Bai Qingyu, saying that there would be a good show to watch. The golden-winged Great Peng was unwilling to come to Bai Qingyu, but the flying feather void beast insisted on inviting him. Therefore, the golden-winged Great Peng followed the flying feather void beast and the 5-colored sea god shell to Bai Qingyu. The matter of going to the far north was left to the other 3 great sages. After the golden-winged Great Peng finished speaking, Feng Wu asked curiously, So, it wasn't Taoist Zhao's 200,000 Fortune Gates disciples that lured Sage Peng here? Hee, of course not. The golden-winged Great Peng laughed. This Holy One was shocked when we arrived here. Since when did so many high-level humans enter the 1,000 Demons' sacred land? At that time, this Holy One thought that Sage and I had received the news in advance. There should be a transmission passage from the Great Holy Hall to Bai Qingyu, right? Feng Wu asked again. Otherwise, Sage Peng and the others wouldn't have arrived in such a timely manner. The golden-winged Great Peng didn't hide anything and nodded. There is a demonic formation in the Great Holy Hall that can draw on the power of the moon and stars to reach most places in the 1,000 Demons' sacred land. We came here with the help of the demonic formation. However, the demonic beasts can only go from the great holy hall to other places, and not from other places. The golden-winged great Pung suddenly thought of something and flapped his wings. This holy one forgot. Sage Phoenix has never entered the great holy hall, and the star bridge can sense the star runes on Sage Phoenix's body. Sage Phoenix can rely on this connection to summon the star bridge in the great holy hall. Since Sage Phoenix is a 7 stars great sage, the Rainbow Bridge also has the power of 7 stars. Not to mention this Holy One, Sage and Sage Bay can borrow Sage Phoenix's light. Even Sage Dragon, Sage Spider, and Sage Sparrow can be guided to the Great Holy Hall. P.S. Sagittarius Constellations, Nostalgia, Moonlight Birthday Update. I hope everyone has a happy time. Chapter 44-26. So that's how it is. Feng Wu smiled. No wonder I can sense the location of the great holy temple no matter where I am in the Thousand Demons sacred realm. Especially when I was sparring with Sage Pong, I felt a kind of suction force. So that's how it is. The golden-winged rock laughed when he heard Feng Wu call their previous fight a spar. He said, earlier, I resented Saint and I for scheming against me. However, after thinking about how I benefited from this disaster, I can't be bothered to argue with him anymore. That's right, Feng Wu said earnestly. There's a saying in the human race that unity is a fortress. If the 7 sages of the great holy temple can't work together, how can we? At this point, Feng Wu was at a loss for words. Yes, what can we do? Resist the invasion of the human race? Resist the enemy? However, Feng Wu's eyes turned, and she hurriedly covered it up. How can we resist the Dragon Island's instigation? How can we avoid a disaster? What Sage Feng said is true. The Golden Rock shouted, the dragon race is clearly a branch of the demon race, but they want to call themselves the dragon race and split themselves off. They even created a dragon island to compete with the great holy temple. There are 4 dragon palaces in the 4 seas, and they are even more powerful than the Thousand Demons sacred realm. Damn it, the more I look at them, the more I dislike them. Also, this Pentaceratops on the surface seems to be at odds with the Dragon Island, but who knows how many tricks they have up their sleeves. Cough, cough. Feng Wu coughed twice, looked back, and changed the topic. I wonder when Sage and I and Sage Bay will arrive? Them? Humph. The Golden Rock said with disdain. They won't arrive until nightfall. Oh, right. Sage Feng, what method did that Mahayana human use? Even the old ancestor had to admit defeat? Also, what are those countless lights? It seems like even Sage Bay was affected? Sage Bay kept saying that his bloodline was taken away. How can that be true? Feng Sheng pondered for a moment and said in a low voice, this seems to be one of Spiritual Master Zhao's divine abilities. It is extremely powerful and should be related to bloodline. Taoist Master Xiao is very secretive about this kind of divine ability, and even I don't know much about it. However, if nothing unexpected happens, the 5-colored sea god shell is right. The sea god's bloodline of the Shell clan should have been taken away. Ah, is that true? The Golden Rock was stunned to hear this. Is this human Grand Ascension stage being really that powerful? What do you think, Sage Pong? Feng Wu asked with a smile. If that wasn't the case, how could this sage be friends with him? Didn't I say so earlier? Taoist Xiao has helped me a lot in becoming a great sage. Although I don't know how the old ancestor helped Sage Peng become a great sage, this sage feels that Taoist Zhao's help to this sage is definitely no less than the old ancestor's help to you. No wonder. The golden-winged great Peng bird nodded in response. In that case, I can forgive you for helping that Grand Ascension stage human. Feng Wu naturally didn't care about the golden-winged great Peng bird's forgiveness, but he still smiled. Since Sage Peng knows about this sage's difficulties, then it's easy to talk about it. If this sage can become friends with Taoist Xiao, then it'll be good for my Thousand Beasts sacred realm. Didn't you see? Although the old ancestor has been defeated and her natal shell has been destroyed, she still doesn't dare to do anything to Taoist Xiao. Sai, as a junior, I don't care so much about the old ancestor's matters. It's just a pity that the five-colored sea god shell was originally ranked 4th, but now he's ranked last among the 7 great sages. Even if he's ranked last among the 7 great sages, he's still a great sage. It's better than losing his life. Feng Wu replied indifferently. Without the sea god's bloodline, Sage Pengbird's chances of shattering the void have become even slimmer. The golden-winged great Pengbird sighed. Feng Wu didn't think much of it. No one said that becoming a great sage means that one will definitely be able to shatter the void. Among the 7 great sages, perhaps only Sage Pengbird can shatter the void. Hee. The golden-winged great Pengbird was rather pleased by Feng Wu's flattery. He laughed a few times and said, "You're right, Sage Pengbird. Everyone sweeps the snow in front of their own door. Don't worry about the frost on the roof of their house." Yes, yes. Feng Wu nodded. We've already reached this level, so it's better not to think too much about scheming and scheming. Instead, we should think about how to reach the highest level. Oh, right. This sage doesn't know much about the Thousand Beasts Sacred Realm. Can Sage Pengbird explain more about it? Well said. Well said. The golden-winged great Pengbird was in a good mood. Before the 5-colored sea god shell and the flying feather void beast flew over, he told Feng Wu a little about the Thousand Beasts Sacred Realm. When the stars shone, the 5-colored sea god shell and the flying feather void beast did indeed arrive. The 2 great sages were very tactful. They didn't ask who the victor was. When the golden-winged great Pengbird told them about how Feng Wu had used the star bridge to enter the great sage palace, the 2 great sages had no objections. Thus, Feng Wu raised her head and let out a phoenix cry. Her huge demonic body spread out. Then, on her back, the star patterns of the Big Dipper rotated. 7 pillars of stars fell from the Big Dipper in the starry sky. Then, the star patterns turned into a spinning shadow and rushed out. The moment the star patterns turned into a star shadow, Feng Wu sensed the location of the great sage palace. Without thinking too much, Feng Wu spread her wings. At the same time, her demonic body soared into the sky. The 7 star shadows also soared high into the sky. After the shadow spun a few times like a stream of light, boom, a rainbow bridge came through the sky. It was actually the same as the one Feng Wu saw in the Southern Sea Dragon Palace. Sage Pengbird is indeed a 7-star great sage. Seeing that the arched rainbow bridge turned into 7 colors, the golden-winged great Pengbird clapped his hands and shouted, "Even the star bridge is 7 colors. Come, 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 Saint and I, Saint Shell, let's each take a color." As he spoke, the golden-winged great Pengbird landed on the yellow star bridge, without waiting for Feng Wu's agreement. The flying feather void beast and the 5-colored sea god seashell looked at each other with understanding in their eyes. The 2 saints didn't say anything, and each took a color. When the 3 saints landed on the bridge naturally didn't move. However, when Feng Wu's phoenix claw landed on the bridge, the space within a radius of 10,000 miles began to tremble. Then, thousands of light shadows appeared in the surroundings. These light shadows connected with the rainbow bridge's colors. Countless illusory stars were born in the light shadows, and on the other side of the bridge, an incomparably majestic palace appeared. This palace was naturally the Great Sage Palace. As soon as the Great Sage Palace appeared, it rapidly enlarged and gradually became clearer. In a trance, Feng Wu discovered that the space around him had unknowingly changed. The rainbow bridge under his feet had disappeared at some point in time. Not only was the starry sky no longer high up in the sky, but it was below his feet. Layers of nebulae flowed above his head like a river. The golden-winged great Pengbird, the flying feather void beast, and the 5-colored sea god shell that were standing near him also disappeared. Strange. Feng Wu glanced around and found so many strange things. He couldn't help but mutter in his heart. But the moment his eyes moved, the originally tall Great Sage Palace seemed to have been hit by a pin. The entire palace was completely distorted, turning into an enormous vortex and condensing into an extremely small dot of light. When Feng Wu looked at the dot of light again, it suddenly shrank and turned into a pitch black that was close to nothingness. Hiss! Feng Wu sucked in a breath of cold air. His eyes also shrank into dots of light. He seemed to have sensed something. Feng Wu's heart skipped a beat. A powerful and unparalleled suction force appeared in the small dot and rushed out in a spiral shape. The entire starry sky, the flowing nebulae, and the 7-star patterns on Feng Wu's back, which were Feng Wu's body, suddenly distorted and were pulled in by the suction force. It was very strange. Feng Wu felt that her consciousness had been divided into 14 parts. 7 of them fell into a small, as if they had been crushed. The shattering of the entire starry sky, the rotation of light and shadows, and the shattering of the brilliance of the nebula were all vivid in her mind. Meanwhile, the other 7 were nailed to the spot and could only watch as their surroundings turned into pitch-black darkness and finally disappeared into nothingness. Boom! The moment the shadows completely disappeared, the small dot suddenly exploded. Countless ripples of all kinds rushed out from the small dot. Every inch of the ripples would transform into different things. First, it was light, then shadows, then dust, nebulae, stars, and so on. Many things that Feng Wu had never seen before flew out. When all of them landed in various parts of the darkness, a star slowly flew out from the small dot. The moment this star flew out, many things disappeared. Only the starry sky that Feng Wu was familiar with was revealed once again. Moreover, the stars in the starry sky gradually rotated in the starry sky as the star grew larger. Each star's trajectory was different. Whoosh! When the star grew larger, the starlight of the star flashed again, and the shadow of the palace appeared. This shadow was the same as the star patterns on Feng Wu's body. It was not solid. When the shadow took shape, the star completely disappeared. Boom, boom, boom. The entire starry sky shook again. All the stars fell from the starry sky and crashed into the shadow of the palace. In the blink of an eye, a majestic great sage palace that was completely made of stars appeared once again. Woo! 7 howling winds transformed into the cries of phoenixes. In the great sage hall, where the Big Dipper had crashed into, 7 palace doors appeared, each of which was engraved with the words Great Sage Hall. When the 7 palace doors opened at the same time, 7 stars gushed out and covered Feng Wu's consciousness in 7 different places. Just as the stars fell, the 7 consciousnesses worked together again. Woo! The 7 stars merged into one and formed an even larger star. Where the star landed, the heavenly phoenix demonic body, which had disappeared to an unknown location, appeared again. Ka-cha-cha! Countless bolts of lightning appeared around the great sage hall, and wherever the lightning struck, countless stars would appear. The 7 palace doors transformed into an even larger star door, and Feng Wu slowly flew towards the star door amidst the starry sky. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.